Live right now. Yes, there we go. Okay, we are live. And in case anyone's wondering, we're not expecting Tank to show up because unfortunately South Africa had a thing where it's called really shitty weather that may or may not have knocked out his internet.
Which is bad time, which is pretty bad weather as well, because
Yeah, I think he said
let's
it was
just
a
say
trop-
that,
I think he said it was a tropical storm, didn't he?
yep.
You know what's
Oh
I
man.
did not think I did not think a hurricane. Well, okay, in this case it wasn't a hurricane because I did ask him this and he told me that they actually did get a hurricane back in 17. I'm actually surprised a hurricane could get as far down as South Africa.
Well, hurricanes can get pretty powerful
No,
in
I know they get
certain parts
powerful.
of
It's
the
just like I
world.
didn't think it could travel that far. Yeah, I never. Yeah, that's just the only thing. I didn't think they could travel that far, man.
Yep.
Hmm.
Well, sometimes nature can surprise you.
I guess. I think there was a thing back when I was living in Florida. I think we actually did live through. I think I
Mhm.
actually did live through a hurricane.
Jeez.
Well, I do remember. What I remember is there was one day it was we had a torrential downpour and the winds were high. Pretty sure it was a hurricane. The good thing about hurricanes is they never make landfall.
Well, they level everything around it, around the area.
Well, yeah. Florida does get hurricane weather.
Yep.
It's around the Gulf of Mexico.
Sometimes, and sometimes multiple hurricanes in a row.
That is true. Kind of glad that's one. Florida wasn't the worst place I lived, but it's not a place I'm in any hurry to go back to. Plus, I like living in Washington way too much.
Where's no hurricanes?
No hurricanes out in Washington. No swamps. No gators. Also, no Florida man. Although Florida man is infinitely entertaining, I will give it that.
Yeah,
Mike Barron's writing a Florida man comic, I think.
I believe so.
Here's what I gotta wonder.
You know, yeah,
Think about Mike Barron. I think I remember him being mentioned in a DNC video once where he talked about his run on the Punisher. Did he write? He wrote for the Punisher, right?
I think so.
Yeah, and I think Zach said like he kind of wrote the Punisher to be sort of like, yeah, he was mean, but he had also a bit of a soft side to him.
Yep, and I just take this set in Slack that he's not going to make the stream today. His dad was just discharged.
Say what?
Tank said that he's not going to make a stream tonight.
Yep. Oh, and I can see why. Yeah, that's right. His dad was in surgery.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'll message him. That's fine, man. Yeah. I haven't. Okay, now back on to Mike Barron doing Florida Man. Like I haven't.
Yep.
I've got very little familiarity with his work. Do you have any?
Not really.
So I don't know. I guess with a comic like Florida Man, I think like you can only expect it to be a joke.
Yeah, I think it's a kind of comic that can be done, but it needs to be very limited.
Well, yeah,
As we saw with as we saw with Geico trying to get as much money out of the caveman concept for their commercials, going as far as giving them a comedy show.
Oh my god. I can't believe I forgot about that.
Geico had good commercials. They just need to keep them limited.
Yeah, well, what was good? They didn't even need the fucking caveman. They had the gecko. That was enough.
Yeah, I think at the time they lost Kelsey Grammer as the voice of the Geico. So they tried out something new.
Kelsey Grammer was the gecko?
Yeah, Kelsey
Really?
Grammer voiced the Gecko in the first first set of commercials.
Damn.
Yep.
You should turn off your notifications for Slack. I can hear them.
I'm muting the computer.
What? Okay, so but yeah, comic like Florida Man, that you have to play that as a joke, and this isn't a joke that has a lot of mileage on it either, because like some people are probably gonna say, but Deadpool's a joke.
Yeah, but there's a lot of tropes that Deadpool can make jokes about, and his basically when he breaks character, it's to comment about the situation, more or less.
No, not only that, Deadpool's also capable of being serious.
Yeah, and I think that's one of those things that really, really makes or breaks a comic, a parody comic, because back back when they were doing those really good parodies, such as Spaceballs, they it wasn't just they were doing something funny; they were doing something that was meant to be a movie first, and then something funny.
Well, actually, if you want one of the best examples, is like you ever seen Airplane?
Yep,
Okay, what do you know? What makes that movie work so well as a comedy?
that was serious too.
Yeah. Well, it's more like everything around it is the entire situation is ridiculous, but the characters are playing it all straight.
Yep, and really, I think a lot of that's one of the things I have problems with the MCU is that it seems like a parody of superhero movies at times. Because if you got a serious movie, it needs to have serious moments where you have to stop and think. The MCU, in its current form, does not do that.
Well, the problem with that is that it carried over a lot of Whedon influence, for better and for worse.
Yep, and like anything in Hollywood, they see something that works, they're going to misinterpret how it works.
Like it's
Such as the first time we see Doctor Strange with his full costume, they have to ruin that heroic moment with a gag.
yep, the cloak, but it's just like I actually saw a video on that, and it said like the problem is that, or it's sort of like compared that against sort of like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies.
Oh yeah, I saw that video too.
Yeah, and what he get and what he sort of what that guy, the point the guy was making in that video is that the reason why, as corny as the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies could be, they were at least sincere.
Yeah, it was a video on Wonder Woman, too, and that the big thing that Wonder Woman had that made it such a big hit was that it was sincere.
I mean, like, it's also kind of why I also respect the hell out of Deathsworn, or in what Carl does.
What?
It's kind of also why I respect the hell out of Carl O'Rowe and what he does with Deathsworn.
Yep.
Just because I can just tell that although whatever Carl's doing with Deathsworn, he's not faking it. And I haven't even read the book yet. Just nothing about it feels like he's faking or trying to force you. Nothing like he believes in what he's doing 100%.
Huh.
I think that's something that's also like, I don't know if this is talked about a lot on comics YouTube or comics Twitter, but it just seems like there seems to be a real lack of sincerity with mainstream comics. Like, you don't have people believing in what they're writing.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest problem with Marvel these days is that there's too much jokes in their comics as well.
Yeah. I mean, actually, that's a funny thing for me to say. These people don't believe in what they're writing when they come off like complete ideologues.
I don't think they believe their ideology either.
I don't know. It's just like well, I'm not in any of these people's heads, so who knows what they're thinking.
True. I think it might be good just to do our own things and let them self-destruct.
No, look, I don't really care, but it's just like, actually, that's just something I want. That's just something I kind of liked about what we have out here.
You know,
is that nobody, at least nobody in our, I was going to say that nobody in our general circle, or at least the people we know, they all completely believe in what they're doing.
Yep. That we do. We all do.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, sometimes sincerity isn't enough.
I don't know. I guess, but well, it's not. I'll only put it this way. I mean, like, well, one of the big reasons why, as dated as they are, I guess the Sam Raimi movies are still kind of hold up because they're sincere. But is that all?
I think it also has to do with talent as well.
Yeah.
So, I read Mark Millar's comic, Jenny Sparks: The Secret History of the Authority.
Mm-hmm.
How long do you think it'll be before the far left starts calling him a Nazi?
I don't know,
because
Mark Millar.
Because apparently there's what?
Mark Millar hasn't done anything with the Big Two in years, so I think he's well outside the orbit.
For them, it doesn't matter, but there are moments in James Sparks where you can say, where they're gonna go and say, "Oh, he wrote this. He's a Nazi." Like when he has a 14-year-old James Sparks tell a down-and-out Hitler that he should stop painting.
Oh, dude! All they gotta do is
Which,
find that one time all they gotta do is find that one tweet where he agreed with Peter Hitchens, and they'll think he's a Nazi.
yeah, but then that was an inciting incident for Hitler to go into politics. And then there's that point where Jenny is captured, and Hitler remembers her. And because she's the one who inspired him to give up painting and go into politics, he lets her go.
I don't know. It's just like I said, most of these people, where the quote unquote controversial shit happens is mainly in the big two, and Mark Millar's been outside that orbit for years.
Yeah, but they're also calling Attack on Titan Nazi propaganda.
Also true. And I do remember Zach doing a video on this hit piece that was on Mark Waid's book Strange Fruit.
Yeah, that was funny.
Like it's like you're attacking the guy who is completely on your side, and only because he's white. Do you not see how that makes you look racist?
That's basically JWism is essentially the reborn version of Nazism. That's the only thing I have to say that John Malin got right, because all it's about is promoting hatred against specific races while claiming to be about something that's so-called noble.
Yeah, well, like I said, it goes back to that one quote by SF Debris. When you believe you're a victim, you'll always believe you're a victim, even when you're the oppressor.
It's just a really... It's one of those things that I think that people are just plain insane.
Yeah. Yes, Salem, it is a good quote. And and here's the thing, do you know what that quote is in reference to? Well, that was from when he was covering the finale to Deep Space Nine. That was in reference to the Changelings.
Oh yeah.
Because if you remember, Changelings, they hate solid. Well, solids are anybody that's just what they call people who call any race that isn't a changeling. Because you know, Changeling's true form is like some kind of amorphous blob.
Yep.
Look, there's a point to this. Changelings kind of have a history of being persecuted. And so they and then it got so bad that they just sort of closed themselves off and just did not trust any other solid race. Just came to believe that the whole galaxy is out to get them.
Yeah, and that's when they became the monsters.
Well, here's what's funny. They still believe that, even though they're the ones who run the Dominion.
They justify that by claiming that if they don't keep up this power, they're going to be destroyed.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's pretty much, it's either the solids or us.
Yep.
Yeah. And like I said, you could say it's coming from a justifiable place. But that's the problem with holding on to that mentality. When you're locked into seeing yourself as a victim, you're going to believe that for the rest of your life, even when you're the one who becomes the oppressor. And really puts into perspective just how important Odo was.
Yeah. It's there's a lot of hidden meanings with Deep Space Nine. Hidden messages that aren't obvious
There's a reason
until
why
you
Star
take a
Trek
closer look
fans
at them.
consider it the best series. Like, even I think it's the best Trek.
It's the Star Trek that Star Trek Discovery wishes it could be.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. It's because, like, Discovery thinks it's being dark and edgy because it has, like, characters who do morally questionable things. The reason why Deep Space Nine succeeded where Discovery failed was because Deep Space Nine, even though it was sort of deconstructing Star Trek, it was kind of more doing it in a way where it was like saying, okay, this is what the Federation believes in. Let's see how well those ideas hold up to scrutiny. So
Yep.
that's where you get shit like the Bajorans, who are not really sure if they want to join the Federation because, well, they've already been screwed over by the Cardassians. And then you got all the colonies that the Federation doesn't. You got all the Federation colonies out in the Alpha Quadrant that the Federation doesn't really seem to lend a hand when they need it. And so when the Cardassians start invading, well, there comes the Maquis.
Yep. But I don't think it's so much about the Federation not wanting to help the colonies. It's more like they want to keep the peace.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. That's actually the problem because, like, was this in the middle of the Klingon War? I'm a little bit rusty.
I think the whole Maquis thing happened before the Klingon War. Because it seems like,
were the colonies dealing with getting invaded by Klingons or Cardassians? You need to remind me. I think, because if I remember correctly, the big peace treaty was more with the Klingons, not the Cardassians.
and basically the whole Klingon War happened because the Klingons had bad leadership.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, if I remember, so here's what I remember. I think I remember now. I think the Klingons were having issues with the Cardassians, and that sort of prompted them into sort of invading Federation colony space. And the Federation.
It's actually funny because.
Well, I was going somewhere with this. Well, the Federation opted to not get involved because they didn't want to risk war with the Klingons. I think. I'm probably misremembering things. All I remember is that whatever this fucking peace treaty was, the Federation was cared more about upholding the letter of it than the spirit. And they kind of just left the colonies to fend for themselves. And they're like, okay, you don't want to help us? Well, fuck off. We'll do it ourselves.
Yeah, it's with Cardassians. It was a peace treaty with the Cardassians.
It was with the Cardassians.
And, yep. Because the Cardassians were the problem race in Deep Space Nine and the later seasons of Next Generation.
Well, yeah, they were, but I think I remember at a certain point Deep Space Nine moved more to making the Klingons the more antagonistic force.
Yeah, but I think that happened after the Federation refused to give them support in going after the Cardassians.
Yeah, and that was also what prompted bringing in Worf onto the cast.
Yep. Yeah. That it's kind of funny, but one episode of The Next Generation that dealt with the Kardashians was more or less rewritten into a movie, Star Trek Insurrection,
Mm-hmm.
except that reversed the roles. In the series, Picard wanted to use a hollow ship to move a bunch of Native Americans off a planet that was disputed with that was under dispute with the Kardashians.
Yeah, I know.
While
But
in Insurrection, what?
can't we just remember that Insurrection sucked?
Yeah, I think it. When you think about how much it sucks even more is that it made Picard look like a racist because let's just say that what was good for the Native Americans was not good for the aliens that looked white.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, an unintentional moment.
Mm-hmm.
That was a moment of stupidity for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Combine that misfire with their anti-technology message.
Yeah, do you want to know who's to blame for that?
Who?
Michael Piller.
Yeah.
I watched SF Debris' review of Insurrection, and he actually, I think he was able to glean at some of the notes Piller had made for Insurrection script. Do you want to know the words he used to describe that planet?
What?
It'll put everything in perspective. Rural simplicity.
Of course.
Which is funny because Michael Piller is often credited with saving Star Trek.
Yeah, it's mostly because of Deep Space Nine.
He didn't do Deep Space Nine. He came on Next Generation, I think, around the third season.
Oh, yeah. He's credited only because Gene Roddenberry had left because of his health.
Yeah,
There wasn't so much that.
Yeah,
It
but he
wasn't
also.
so much that.
I was going to say though, but he also took Next Generation in the direction that people remember fondly for it. Remember it fondly for, like, getting it away from trying to be like another take on. He got it away from Gene's vision for the better. Because like Gene's vision for Next Generation was basically doing a bunch of stuff he didn't get to do with the original series. And what he figured out was that what we need to do is just take this, modernize it, and also round out the characters.
Unfortunately, that didn't work out well because he didn't want any kind of conflict between the characters either.
Oh yeah, also too, yeah, because apparently Gene did not want there to be any conflict between the crew. Because apparently humanity evolved past that.
And that was one of the issues that the Big Three had with the motion picture was that Gene Roddenberry did not want to have any of the charm or characterizations that made the original series work. William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, and DeForest Kelley did their lines under protest because they were unhappy with how things were going. And Leonard Nimoy put it best: the motion picture was special effects oriented rather than character oriented.
Mm-hmm.
And the best Star Trek is all about character, not the special effects, not the future. Just sitting in with the characters and watching their interactions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's actually funny hearing about how Shatner, Kelly, and Nimoy were all ad-libbing lines in terms of because they wanted their characters to ring true. But apparently that act of rebellion kept made the production go. I made a delay in production because the guys on top did not want that. They wanted a new 2001: Space Odyssey, which Star Trek really isn't. If there's any lesson that the motion picture can give you, is that let your title be your title. Let be separate from the others, because once you start putting your series in with the others, that's when you lose your identity.
Yeah, you're right about that. Now that and been talking a lot about Star Trek on a show that's supposed to be about comic books.
Yep.
It's
more like general geekery.
Yes. I guess so. Here's an. Okay, I got about the weirdest notification on Facebook. Oh wait, I know what it is. I got sent a friend request over Facebook. I'll have to look over it later. Fuck. I have a neck.
What?
I almost never go into. I almost don't go to Facebook. Like about the only capacity I use it in this at this point is just to chat up with some friends. Like I don't really use it anymore. I have not touched my Facebook page in like over a year. I mean, getting back onto comics.
I haven't been using it except for messages and the occasional confirming friend requests.
Oh yeah, we're getting back on comics. Big day tomorrow.
Yeah. Yep, very big day. In a way, it probably would have been better to launch it on New Comic Book Day, but
well, to be fair, this was on Brett's suggestion.
Yeah, and we're not going to do all that well competing with bigger comics.
Someone's asking if there's a countdown. I'm not sure what he means by that. About the only thing I do know about, I guess the closest that we have to that is that we're going to be doing a stream on Wicked's channel leading up to it.
Yeah, there is going to be a countdown. We're going to have a campaign countdown on
countdown clock
9 p.m. Eastern.
No, he's asking for a countdown clock. I don't think
Not
we
so
have
much
one.
a countdown.
We don't have one.
Hmm.
At least not that I know of.
Unfortunately, no. I think that'd cause us too much stress. Well, it would be something cool to do later on when we've got a budget.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well.
But Wicked's got some pretty good. I think it was a good idea for me to. I think it's a good idea for all of us to jump on with Wicked because they've been. I've been looking at the price of per copy comic printed for a site like Kablam.
Yeah.
And they are $1 more than what we're going to be charging for than what we're going to get printed off of from Wicked.
Oh yeah, Def. Yeah, we're gonna. Oh yeah, I'm kind of amazed that they can actually. I've got a countdown clock going for Godzilla. Gotta admit, it makes it fun. How bad it does.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, something I don't. Something I gotta under. Something I have to. Something I don't kind of get. I mean, like, I don't know if you've seen in John De La Rose where he talks
Yeah.
about like he's he's not a big fan of hooking up with publishers. Although, yeah, I mean, like I mean, to be fair, he's at a point where he kind of doesn't need them.
Who? Again?
John De La Rose. I've seen him tweet about how he.
Oh yeah.
I've seen him tweet about how he doesn't really like working with publishers.
Yeah, but technically he's with Archaven, Backstage Publishing Group. So
I don't know. Maybe just be
it's
might be
of
might just be the may just that might just be the exception. I mean, I think about the only reason I could see for why he might not like working with publishers just because he doesn't like being censored.
I think he's more referring to the big name publishers like Tor or one of the big two comics publishers because of that.
Does it
Because of
come
his
from being concerned
exchanges
that
with them.
publishers can influence the work? Yeah, that's about the only reason I could see him having. And to be fair, that's a I guess when you're John De La Rose, that's a legitimate concern to have. Let's face it, the guy's not exactly known for holding back what he thinks.
Nope, not at all. Even when he gets friendly fire.
Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe just I don't know. I definitely do agree with him though that the agency business is probably a bit of a scam. Like, why do writers need to get an agent?
Well, sometimes you need a smooth talker.
I guess.
A lot of writers really can't represent themselves.
Hmm. I mean, I don't. I mean, I wouldn't. I wouldn't get an agent. I'm pretty good at presenting myself.
Yeah.
I mean, like I don't really need it.
Yeah, but I think for the most part, that's why it's optional to have an agent when it comes to doing indie work.
Yeah. Well, if you're doing indie work, agents are just expensive.
Oh yeah, but for the most part, agents get a cut of your profits because they're going to the publishers for you
Yeah.
or studios.
Mm-hmm. I know. It kind of feels like when if you're going to work in Hollywood, it's almost like you pretty much have to get an agent,
Yep,
and that's because the agents are the people who are connected.
pretty much. Although sometimes it takes a long time for you to get some kind of stuff or work like that because you're stubborn. You ever wonder why JMS hasn't been one of those leading names in Hollywood screenwriting?
Yeah, it's because well, you told me he's quit projects just because he did not like what they were doing.
Yeah, he's walked off of so much more projects than finishing them. He walked off on the real Ghostbusters, which he came back after the show started tanking.
Mm-hmm.
He walked off of Captain Power. I think that if Warner Brothers wanted more control over Babylon 5, he would have walked off of that too.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got a reputation for being a pain in the ass.
I bet he does.
He didn't walk off of Sense8. He just wasn't busy. He just got too busy to do the series finale. Let's see. I I think it might be considered they walked away from Jeremiah, but then again, the show got canceled.
Yeah, so that one probably doesn't count. I was actually kind of surprised to see that he was coming back to comics the other day.
Well, I think if you give him an idea, something that he thinks would be a fun idea to work with, he'll do it. And he's more or less part of a group that's going to be building a new superhero universe.
Oh, really? Is that what he's doing over at AWA?
I think that's it because he's part of a creative council. And despite what people think, he actually knows how superheroes should act. And that's one of the reasons why he disagreed so much with One More Day was that he did not believe that Peter Parker would sell his soul to the devil for his aunt.
Well, he actually wanted to go into detail as to how the deal would work, but Quesada overruled him and said, "It's magic. We don't have to explain."
Which was stupid on Quesada's part.
Yeah.
But then again, it also explains his creative process for Marvel over the last decade.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
He's the reason why fans are attracted to Marvel characters as magic. We don't have to explain anything.
yeah. No. Kind of glad I mean, I'm kind of glad we decided to put a little more thought into how magic works in the Mythoverse. I mean, on the one hand, magic is one of those things you got to walk a fine line with. You have to explain enough so that people understand how it works, but don't over explain to the point that it's just basic, that it kind of loses its mystery.
Yeah, agreed.
Like,
There should be an element of mystery.
yeah, let me put it this way. Much as people are probably gonna hate me for saying this, D&D and stuff like D&D and WoW, they are they're too detailed with how magic works.
Yeah, but unfortunately, that's the nature of what with D&D. It's the nature of what it is. It's an RPG, so they're
No,
going to have to go
the
into some
caveat is
detail.
they're games, so you kind of have to know how everything works.
Yep.
It's just when it's just that it's just that when you're dealing with fiction, you really should not like. Actually, now that I think about it, Tolkien never really explains how the magic works in Lord of the Rings.
Nope. And when you look at the Techno Mages from Babylon 5, you don't know anything about them.
Well, it's not really that hard to figure it out. It's like because I think they're basically a play on Clarke's third law of motion. If the
Oh
technology
yeah,
Yep, if the technology is advanced enough, it's indistinguishable from magic.
yeah. And it was only really explained in the books because it was a story thread that wasn't that was still open about why the Techno Mages were leaving. What that made them want to leave the occupied area of space of the galaxy.
Hmm.
Well, spoiler alert. Turns out that they got their technology from the Xenos.
Salem says, yeah, given the reader or participant a bit of imagination does wonders. It makes the world more believable since each person can connect the dots in their own understanding. Bloodborne did that masterfully. And play Bloodborne, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. I think that's also something that was also one of the reasons why the Phantom Menace wasn't taken so
Well,
well. George Lucas was
hated the
trying
idea
to
of midi
explain the
chlorians
Force.
just because it sort of took away it kind of took away like the mystical aspect from the Force. Because up until then, the Force had been explained in very abstract terms, like it's just something that exists, and there are people who have the ability to sort of manipulate it and manipulate it, sort of. I'm not really explaining it very well, but yeah, it what.
Yeah.
Then you have midichlorians, which sort of say like there's like bacteria in certain people that connects them to the Force, and it's just like it just like I said, it just sort of takes away the mystical aspect away from it.
Well, yeah. And I think for the most part now, George Lucas is just trolling people about
Uh,
because for an interview about science fiction for a James Cameron book on science fiction,
uh-huh.
he talked about how he wanted to do an entire sequel trilogy that takes place in the world of the midichlorians.
Wow.
I think that was a troll that people took literally and just ran with as fact. The art of Star Wars: The Force Awakens went into detail over the George Lucas involvement on that film, and he wanted things same basic story. A young, a force sensitive girl goes on a quest to find Luke Skywalker, The only difference is that she finds him in the middle during the second act of the movie, starts training with him, and then it would be only after the main villain had exhausted himself with Luke that she'd come in, already trained with a lightsaber, to fight him. And so he had a handicap of fighting a Jedi Master like Luke that he'd be too exhausted to handle a newbie in lightsaber combat.
I kind of like how 40K doesn't really explain how the warp works. It's just like the only thing they really explain as far as how it works is that it's a collection of thoughts and feelings from every soul-bearing species in the galaxy, and it's shaped by IL life, and it in turn can also influence stuff in real space, which is what it's where psychers draw their power from.
Yep.
Like it just that's kind of like how.
I'm gonna be honest.
What were you gonna say?
Oh, go on. No, you can go ahead.
I was gonna say that's just that's kind of like how the Force should have been explained. Like it's just a thing that exists. All life is connected to it, and probably shapes it, and it in turn shapes. It affects things it affects things in the physical world as well. I am not good at explaining this stuff.
Well, it sounds like something similar to what I'd say if I was the one in charge of the Star Wars sequel trilogy. If the question of why is Rey so powerful with the Force, my response would be because the Force does whatever the fuck it wants.
Yeah. Actually, if I remember correctly, even like Obi-Wan hinted at that in the first Star Wars movie, and I mean like the first Star Wars movie, not Episode 1.
Yep.
It just like the Force just seems to have a will of its own. The Force has a will of its own, and we can't understand it. It's something like it's something,
and that's just simple. Actually,
yeah, it's just like Actually, that's a good way of putting it. The Force has a will of its own. It's beyond our ability to understand it. Like that's also something I think a lot of fantasy writers really make a misstep on. Like there are things they over-explain things to the point that they just become mundane.
Yep. And to be honest, that's all they really have to do to explain Rey gaining her ability so quickly. The Force does what it wants.
He just has a stronger connection to the Force than most Jedi do.
Yeah, it's just there's a reason why it's called The Force Awakens.
I mean, fuck it. They really wanted to. Actually, what they really should have been. They really wanted to drive that point home. Like they should have shown that Rey has very little control over it.
That would have been better for that.
Yeah, like let me put it this way: like she tries to act like she accidentally does a force push, but instead of it just being a simple push, like she just punches a hole in a wall or something.
Yep, and it wouldn't be a temper tantrum like what they do with Kylo.
Yeah, like I said, it just shows that she's got too much power and she can't control it. And fuck, that even would have explained like Kylo would have Kylo Ren just getting overwhelmed. Like he just it's like just that amount of power he couldn't, or like just catches him off guard and he's just not prepared to fight it.
Yeah, so I have to say that I think it was a rather weak attempt at explaining why he lost,
Yeah.
with claiming that his training was not complete.
Yeah, I know that was also a good explanation, but like I said, it's more like the difference between
Well, it was rather
ideally the difference between Ray and Kylo would have been like Ray has a stronger connection to the Force than he does, but she has no control over it. He is, but he has actual training, but he's an actual trained Force user.
yeah.
So he understands it a little. So he understands it better than she does. But like I said, like in that fight, like how it should have gone is that she's just randomly spamming Force attacks, not knowing what she's doing, and it's just too much for him.
Which it's not what it's. There wasn't great creative direction with the Star Wars sequel trilogy. They had so many missed opportunities that was just annoying.
It's comical.
It's possible that Abrams wanted to do something like that, but Kathleen Kennedy overruled him.
I don't know. The way he talks about how movies are essentially a mystery box. I don't think he really thought that far ahead as to the mystery behind Rey's parents.
Well, he actually did. It's been confirmed by Simon Pegg that when they saw The Last Jedi, he asked Abrams if that's what he had planned, and Abrams said no.
It's just like, seriously.
To be honest, I think Abrams is a Star Wars fan. He shows how much he loves the franchise in the interviews and how he applied that to Star Trek, much to its detriment. So I can see him getting so excited about working on a Star Wars film that he did work out an entire trilogy plan, because he did write an outline and rough drafts for the two other movies.
They want to hand it to Rian Johnson, fine, but why didn't they keep his script? Like, they do understand people expect a certain level of continuity with Star Wars.
They don't care. There's a lack of caring.
Really puts, like I said, it just really puts that Red Letter Media clip into perspective, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. And to be honest, Star Wars is making the mistake that DC made with their cinematic universe, giving filmmakers more control. But the problem with that is, if you're trying to make a cinematic universe, they have to all fit together. They need someone like Kevin Feige running it, making sure it all runs smoothly until the moment that he no longer has control.
Mm-hmm. It's just there was literally no consistency. That's that's much as we dunk on the MCU, this is at least something they get right. The movies might be getting boring, but at least they're consistent.
With the exception of the Samuel Jackson losing his eye.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I think my problem with the MCU is it's gotten to a point where all the movies are starting to blend together in my head. But like I said, there's at least a consistent feel to them.
Yep.
I kind of liked it better.
And as much as
I kind of liked it better in the beginning, where like they all sort of felt a little different, even though you knew they were all part of the same universe. Because like Iron Man was more of a straight up superhero movie. Thor or had a bit of more of a fantasy element, and Captain America: First Avenger was more of a war movie.
Yeah, I know something interesting about the Thor movie.
Hmm?
JMS had written the outline for it.
Yeah, I knew that.
They initially wanted him to write the movie for them, but he couldn't because of other obligations. So he wrote up a story outline for them,
Oh, and I get. Oh, and I
and
just
that's how he was able to get his cameo, despite the fact they didn't want to be in there.
I also said. I also forgot. I would also say like. I would also say the Hulk kind of had more of a monster movie feel.
Yep.
Salem says Force Awakens set up one hell of a stage for the world's greatest magic show, and The Last Jedi turned out to be the work of a ventriloquist that you could see his mouth obviously moving.
That's a very good. That's very good point.
Yeah.
It would have. I think that if they didn't throw out the scripts and the outline, it would have been one of the greatest trilogies out there. Because by the time the last movie comes out, you're gonna go, "Oh, so that's what they were doing in Force Awakens."
Mm-hmm.
But then Ryan Johnson came in, not familiar enough for him, threw it all out, decided that he wanted Luke to die. He wanted to be the one that killed Luke.
Yeah. Nope. It's just
Yeah, what a fucking shit show that was.
yeah. I think it's. I'm not ever. I'm not really sure. I want Mythoverse to be picked up for a movie series, just because that would.
Well,
Because I can almost see it getting. What the hell was that?
oh, that's my cough.
Okay, because I'm almost certain because I almost feel like it would end up going the route of the MCU or Star Wars. Sure, it might start out great, but go on long enough and
I
then it
think
loses what made it special.
what we should do if we ever do decide, I think want to do one is go. We've got a universe that we can do low budget movies in with, so we could do it like that, and then we have the ability to just stop whenever we feel like it. If we feel like it's going on too right for far too long.
It could happen. Hmm.
Although I think with Changeling, the problem would be that we'd have to make it a TV series because of the setup.
Because I opted for the more episodic route.
That and we really can't do a movie per year because movies aren't shot that quickly,
Yeah, I know it takes like
and I run the problem of the actress playing Maeve growing too old for the role.
yeah, I know like oh fuck. Daniel Radcliffe was playing Harry Potter up and well into his early 20s, I think.
Yep.
Kind of I'm trying to figure out where I can see the part where it's just so obvious that he's not that that he's that he's not a teenager anymore. Because like obviously they kept him shaved, but I'm trying to figure out if I can spot any scenes where he's got visible facial hair.
You know who looks really young without his beard?
Oh,
Will Wheaton. That's why he has a beard. If he doesn't have that beard, he looks like Wesley Crusher.
funny.
And he's older than Alex Jones.
That is really funny.
You know, at this point, I don't want any of Alex Jones's supplements because it looks like it's aging him.
Yeah, I've always kind of found, I've always kind of found his quote unquote health products to be dubious.
Yep. You know what's one of the funniest things I can see on the that I see on the internet? People making using the soy meme seriously because I've been looking at the sauce packages for chicken nuggets at McDonald's,
There's soy.
and they all contain soy.
Well, here's the thing. So, do you know how much food is made with soy in it? Almost everything you eat has soy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that they'll say that soy will make you less masculine, but I don't know. Soybeans were a staple of Asian. They're part of the Asian diet for quite some time, and
What do you think? What do you think soy sauce is made from?
Oh yeah, and are they really going to say that Bruce Lee is a soy boy? Are they going to really make fun of him?
Nobody would call Bruce Lee a soy boy with a straight face. Fuck, they wouldn't even say that about Jackie Chan.
Yeah, and he's a communist. There's also Jet Li.
Sadly.
Donnie Yen.
Chow Yun Fat.
Yeah, though he's not really a martial artist, which is pretty funny. He's more Pat Morita, where he doesn't know anything about, but he's willing to act like he does.
Oh, is that one going to say Ken Watanabe's a soy boy?
Oh boy.
Or fuck, is that? There's another famous. Would anyone call Toshiro Mifune a soy boy with a straight face?
Dude, that guy was the most masculine man alive.
Yeah, he was Toshiro Mifune was about as much of a man's man as you could get.
And then there's Sonny Chiba, who most Western audiences know as the swordsmith in Kill Bill.
Oh, and then there's that guy from Old Boy, the Korean version, not the Josh Brolin one.
Yep. I'm just going to point out one thing is that the only time you saw Chuck Norris die in a movie, it was at the hands of Bruce Lee.
That is true. So who knows? Maybe it's got something to do with Asian genetics. I mean,
Perhaps.
you guys been eating soy for thousands of years. Your bodies have just adapted to it.
Yep, and I agree with Salem that smaller and smaller scale projects tend to have more heart.
They do.
And Nicholas Meyer once said that he believed that art has to have limitations, and that was one of the things that he took with him when making the Wrath of Khan. The Wrath of Khan was made with a far smaller budget because of how disappointing.
Well, that wasn't on hit.
those pictures were.
That wasn't done on his Okay, that wasn't done because of Nicholas Meyer. That was done because of who was the producer?
Harv Bennett.
Harv Bennett. Yeah, that was him. That was done because Harv Bennett was good at sticking to a budget. That was hard. That the budget limitations were Harv Bennett's thing.
Yeah, and not everything that Harv Bennett touched was gold, such as he wanted to destroy the Enterprise and move everyone onto the Excelsior. That was a big reason why they made such a big deal about the new ship in the Search for Spock, was that they wanted to make that the new ship for Kirk and crew to be on.
Mm-hmm.
Which would have been which would have made that much harder if they kept in the scene where Kirk told Sulu that he was taking command of the Excelsior.
No. At the same time, though, there are some projects that just kind of demand a sense of scale. Like Lord of the Rings would not work as well as it did if it had been shot much smaller.
Yeah, that's true.
So like come on, with how much just imagining all the battles in the novels, that kind of demands a high budget.
Yep, and that was one of the reasons why Tolkien was against films, was because he didn't believe that they could fit his vision, and that if they did try, they turn into a Disney film.
Oh boy, if he had been alive to see the Peter Jackson movies. I mean, I know Christopher Tolkien said he would have hated them, but I don't. But
I think every author would have a certain level of hatred for an adaptation, because if it's not made by them, it's gonna be garbage.
I don't know. There've been I don't know. There've been. I think yeah, I know. I mean, because I remember Stephen King hated Stanley Kubrick's take on The Shining.
Yep. And I remember when he made Maximum Overdrive, he said that he decided that it was time for him to step into the director's chair and make sure Stephen King story was done right.
Problem, Stephen King's not a filmmaker.
Nope.
Although,
and there's a
although in fairness, Maximum Overdrive's fun if you turn your brain off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting for smaller productions nowadays, because it's going to be, we're given so much to work with nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, I think I remember coming across an interview where J.J. Abrams was talking about how these days anyone can be a filmmaker.
Basically what happened with Rooster Teeth when they started doing their own live action stuff was that they decided to just pick up a camera and start filming. Everything about in every one of those shorts, everyone who was working in the earlier ones, everyone who was working
Yeah.
in the background, they actually were working. They just decided to just shoot a short right there and then.
Those shorts were actually pretty good. A lot of them were. I think one of the funniest ones was when Matt's trying to edit a video, and he's trying to add in all these sensors because he thinks that makes it look more professional.
Yep.
And then he's censoring.
Your face is obsessed.
Yeah, and he gets so obsessed with it, he starts censoring things in real life, like he censors Gus's drink, he censors Jeff's tattoos, and
then eventually after hearing that Jeff's face is obscene, Jeff's face gets censored.
I think he censors everybody's language too,
as well as Joel's middle fingers.
Yeah, I think that was legitimately the funniest one.
As a writer, I appreciate the one where Joel's writing a short and everyone keeps interrupting him. And you get cuts to what he's writing, which is Super Gus. And it's such a ridiculous concept that he also includes that Jeff's wearing a skirt, pretending to be the damsel in distress. And if you pay attention to the end credits for that, they didn't name anyone outside of the main cast at the very beginning of the credits, but then they cut to the Seven Samurai credits.
Wow.
Yep. And the description of that video was, "Stop trying to ruin Joel's genius." And now I have an idea for a Chibi script where Elfie is trying to write.
Yeah.
And Adobe and Maeve are just interrupting the entire time.
Oh, so now so it's basically her trying to find a quiet spot to get some writing done.
Yep. And for the most part, I think I'm going to write in the same vein as that one short I received short where Joel's trying to find a quiet place to eat, but he keeps on getting interrupted.
Yeah, I still like the idea of like doing a take on that one gag from SpongeBob. When SpongeBob has to write an essay.
I have never watched an episode of SpongeBob.
Really?
Really?
Okay, so there's this episode where SpongeBob has to write an essay for his boating school class. And the whole episode is him trying to get the essay written and just failing to get anything done. And it has this one gag where he sits down and it sets you up thinking he's writing, that he's actually getting stuff done. He's actually making progress. And then he stops writing and all he's written is "the" in some very fancy writing.
Jeez.
Yeah, some very fancy, over-designed writing. That's all he got. That's all he wrote was "the," and he decides, and he gets up and says, "Break time."
Unfortunately, I think that's just about any writer these days.
I don't know. I kind of relate more to I remember when I posted that when I floated that idea to Dan and in Slack,
Mm-hmm.
and then he posts, and then he sort of posted that peanut strip with Snoopy.
Yep.
And the other thing, I mean, it's a similar joke, but the difference is that with Snoopy, it's kind of mocking writer's block because Snoopy can't come up with anything, and all he except and he just says sometimes a writer just has to find the right word. Which,
Oh yeah.
which don't get me wrong, that's funny. I adore the Peanuts, and that joke is funny because of how real it is. But I kind of like the SpongeBob take on it a little bit more, just because it sets you up to think that SpongeBob is going to actually get something done, and then it shatters your expectations and shows no, he hasn't gotten anything done.
Yeah, and
That's how you subvert expectations the correct way.
yep. But then again, you got someone like Ryan Johnson who just goes, nope.
Yeah. I just kind of like I don't know. I just kind of like that take just because like I said, it plays with your expectations.
Of course.
I also kind of realize if we're talking about if we're making SpongeBob comparisons, Adobe in the strip when she's playing banjo is basically like Squidward trying to play the clarinet.
I think what I want to do with the script where Alfie is trying to find a quiet place to write is what I'm gonna do is have one of just interrupt because they're not getting along. You know, Adobe and Maeve aren't getting along like usual.
Implying they get along at all.
True. Well, to be honest, I think that they do get along when Maeve is sleeping.
Yeah. Yeah, but going back to the thing with Adobe is like the vibe I sort of got, at least in the novel, was that Adobe's not good at the banjo, but she knows it, but she's at least trying to get better.
Yep.
Adobe in the strip isn't good at the banjo, but thinks she is.
I can see that. Anyway, I'm going to be right back for a second.
Yeah.
I just heard a door knock.
Yeah. Writing just to foil fan theories will distract you from making a conceivable plot that could have actually had legitimate subversion. I don't know. Rags does that all the time. Brian really likes messing with people's heads. And of all the days for Tank to not be on here. Nothing real. I'm not seeing anything too interesting. I'm not seeing anything too interesting going on. going on Twitter right now. Oh wait, this was funny. I found this. This guy was surfing on Netflix, and he found what I assume was a documentary called on Hitler and the Nazis. Here's how the description reads: Out and proud, they overcame prejudice to become some of the most influential voices in Americans' LGBT community. That's funny. That's funny as hell. I don't see how anyone couldn't find that funny. To answer your question, Salem, I'm kind of, doing good. Not doing good, not doing bad, just doing okay so far. Ah, God, he's back.
I'm back.
Yes, you are. I don't know about you, but do you actually kind of think it's funny when you have a character who is trying to be good, has this thing they're into that they're trying to be good at and they're not? Like, oh wait, yeah, because that was the thing with Rukia. Like she liked to draw, but she wasn't good at it.
There's also a brilliant way of handling exposition too, because even though she sucks at it, it was a funny way of putting out the exposition that didn't feel boring.
I gotta find a way to sort of adapt that into Changeling.
Yep.
Not sort of copy the same gimmick, but not so much copy the gimmick, so much as copy the method. Like I actually can think of a good way to do it. Like Gavin's explaining things about the Fae, and it just goes into a chibi thing or something.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and say that after Ray reappeared on a Achievement Hunter podcast, I now associate the name Gavin with team kills in Rainbow Six.
Really?
Yeah, because Gavin was the biggest team killer in Rainbow Six that he actually got Ray really angry.
Wow.
Because it was all of everything he did was just so stupid. Such as he'd throw a grenade and have it bounce back towards them. And then there's at one point where he shoots Ray, which Ray is where his character is all in red. So his response was, "What terrorist looks like M. Bison?"
Fucking what?
Oh, during that episode, he was referring to himself as M. Bison because his character looked like Bison with all red. Yeah, and so basically, Gavin's the guy everyone knows as the guy who really sucks at games. If you want to die quickly, be on his team.
I don't get it. Why would you, if you're not good at playing video games, why would you want to work with people who play video games?
Well, with Achievement Hunter, they do Let's Plays, but for a comedy value, rather than, hey, we're good at games, watch us beat games.
That's true.
And that's what makes...
Although most of them are actually pretty okay at it.
Yeah, for the most part, I watched them because of the comedy aspect of it, not for the gaming aspect.
Okay, fair enough. Sam says best way to go about it is to create the opportunity for someone to inform the character that they aren't as good as they think they are. The following reaction will determine if the gag will work. Well, Ichigo did constantly tell Rukia she sucked at drawing.
And to a point that she started ignoring him.
No one ever tells Squidward that he sucks at the clarinet, though. I think. Actually, no. Maybe
Nope.
there's been a couple times I'm just not remembering.
For the most part, I think Lolicons were upset with Bleach because it was one of those shonen mangas that didn't really show any underage nudity.
Really, Lolicons did not like Bleach.
I said they probably didn't like it because there wasn't any underage girl nudity.
You would think with how he drew characters like Rangiku and Orihime that it wouldn't be as bothered.
I think for the most part.
Well, okay, no wait, bad example. Okay, let me rephrase that's a bad example because like with Rangiku, I'm pretty sure her is an adult,
Yeah.
which makes her posing as a high schooler in the in the in the Arrancar arc very quizzical.
She just did because
But then again, a lot about that arc makes me question things.
yeah, Rukia could pull off high school student because she still looks young enough.
Yeah. It's like no, fuck, even Hitsugaya could do it.
Maybe not high schooler, but elementary school.
Yeah, he could say he skipped a few grades.
Yeah. It's really interesting how popular Bleach got at the height of its popularity.
Yeah. Well, it was considered one of Shonen Jump's big three, along with Naruto and One Piece.
Yep.
Although I think in the rankings it was like dead last.
Yeah, because I think
it went One Piece, Naruto, and then Bleach.
Yeah, I think it's because the concept got old after a while.
Well, not just that. Tite Kubo he was just being kept on that longer than he wanted to be.
Yep, riding out that popularity. So I wonder if he's doing anything now.
I don't know what he's doing. Yeah. Here's what I don't get. Like, how is it that One Piece is so popular in Japan, though?
Pirates, I guess.
It can't be it. Like, just what is it about One Piece that just, I guess, appeals to Japanese sensibilities or something? It's about the.
It's because it doesn't go with that it became popular.
I don't know. I mean, for one thing, One Piece is also very atypical for Shonen Jump manga.
Yep. Well, it looks like he hasn't been doing much other than character designs for Project Sakura Wars.
Like Tite Kubo?
Yeah. He did a one-shot romantic comedy called Burn the Witch.
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty much it. But no, he's now it's been announced that he's doing a Saint Seiya spinoff.
Hmm.
The creator of Saint Seiya gave him approval because, as he stated that Kubo was already working on a Saint Seiya manga, Bleach.
Wow. I would say, though, between the three of them, between Kishimoto, Oda, and Kubo, I think Kubo was the best artist.
Yeah, I think, and he did a rapid improvement as well for Bleach, because earlier in the oh well, you know.
I mean, like, Kishimoto was solid, but his stuff was also kind of he sort of had a habit of just giving everyone the same outfit.
Yep. Well,
Like,
Kubo wanted to do more.
Yeah. And well, I'm definitely not going to knock Oda's ability, but some of his stuff could get really busy.
Yep.
Like, he would probably, like, there are some scenes where he just put in a little too much detail. Also his style is it's a sticking point for a lot of it is a sticking point for a lot of people. Like, some people just cannot get into One Piece because of how it looks.
Yeah, but apparently he's able to make it work.
Yeah, I'm not saying he can. It's just that it's something that's kind of it's something that's hard for people to get past, is all I'm saying.
Yep.
Like, I passed on One Piece for years because of how it looked. And now I'm passing on it because there's too much material, because I just don't have the time to get into it now. There's too much.
Oh yeah.
Like, 900 episodes? Oh, it's of One Piece? Shit, ain't nobody got time for that.
Nope.
Yeah.
You just don't have the time for any of that.
Yeah, at this point, about the only way you can really be into One Piece is if it's literally your first anime.
And you have the time to watch all those episodes.
Yeah.
Well, apparently One Piece is going to be in its final arc soon.
Yeah.
And good evening.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
Whew. That shocked me.
We
talking-
survived.
Yep.
So it did not go from tropical storm to hurricane then?
Well, it was still pretty bad. I mean, the damage is still being tallied. The official count of death is around 32 people that they know about right now.
Oh, crap.
And a lot of property damage.
Shit, that sucks.
Jeez.
Yeah. Oh well, shit happens. But
Dude, I mean, like, I've been in I've lived through some pretty bad rainstorms out in Washington. It has never gotten that bad out here.
the biggest problem here is, since the 94 elections, they relaxed a lot of the building bylaws. So a lot of the houses that collapsed were built on areas where the foundations weren't solid, where the ground wasn't just isn't right. I mean, the soil is rather porous. So I mean, you can imagine shit like that is just going to lead to disaster anyway.
And Salem just said, "Oh look, a wild tank."
Heh.
Yeah. But my biggest stress actually was my dad that had to go in for surgery and everything. But he's out and he's doing fine. Nothing serious in terms of this or that. It's just he's in his 60s, overweight, so anesthesia is always a bit of a touchy subject. But the main thing was his Achilles tendon tore, and they needed to repair that.
Oh man.
That's never
So,
good.
yeah. Well, he was discharged today. He's at home resting, so good stuff.
Yeah, a friend of mine is like in his 70s right now. He's I think he's been in and out of the hospital a couple times for back pain and I think a hip replacement.
Yeah, my biggest issues out of this whole last couple of days was I just didn't sleep well, and I slept in a shitty way, so my neck was just giving me absolute agony today. But
Yikes.
I'm relaxing now, so
That's good. Yeah. Yeah, he's. I'm just gonna. When I asked you if it was ever possible to get a hurricane down in South Africa, I was legit surprised that they can travel that far.
well, it just depends on which coast you're on. I mean, it's not like the fact that hurricanes are a unique phenomenon. I mean, we are on the coast of. On the west coast, we've got the Atlantic Ocean. Yeah, we are on the east coast. We've got the Indian Ocean. I mean, hurricanes form anywhere in the world. It's just a fact of, do they form enough? I mean, up until now, we've only had tropical storms here. If you were a little bit further north into the warmer climes, like say towards the equator, Mozambique, I mean, they were recently hit by Cyclone Idai. So
Yeah, but you said like you had a hurricane back in 17.
well, they classified it as such, but it was still just tropical storm.
Really?
Pretty much the same. Masses of water and
High winds.
one area of road entirely collapsed. Yeah, where we live. So that took the better part of a year for them to repair because it was deep excavation needed to be done. They needed to reinforce, rebuild their foundations, structures, everything. I mean, that was a massive task.
We actually don't get hurricanes out in the Pacific.
Well, probably not where you are because you're probably a little bit further north where the water's a bit colder.
Definitely
But if you,
definitely not up in Washington. It's just that hurricanes.
yeah,
Put it this way: when a hurricane happens in the Pacific, it's called a typhoon.
yeah, and it usually hits a little bit further south towards California.
California and Mexico.
Yeah, because of the warmer water, warmer climates, and everything there.
Yeah, that's just a fun fact for everybody. Pacific Ocean doesn't have hurricanes; it has typhoons.
Which is like a hurricane on steroids.
That's because the Pacific Ocean is actually the most violent ocean on the planet.
And
Which
it's
is-
also the largest. Yay.
It's ironic because you know what Pacific means?
Calm.
Yeah.
Because we in Afrikaans, we actually call it the Stille Oceaan, the calm oceans is literally what we call it in Afrikaans. Kind of funny if you think about it.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's nuts. It's but yeah, it's been a crazy couple of days.
Mhm.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, it's
And the big day for you guys tomorrow.
yep.
Yeah, we do.
It's
You ready to launch that thing?
Yeah, we're gonna. Yeah, it goes. It's gonna. Salem says Lake Superior makes the Pacific Ocean blush. He is not wrong. Lake Superior. Matt can back us up on this. Matt.
We don't have lakes in South Africa, but we do
What?
have rather large dams.
Salem says Lake Superior.
well,
makes the
I
Pacific
can't
Ocean.
say anything about Lake Superior. I've never thin there.
Yeah, but you know it. You know that it's how notoriously violent it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A violent freshwater lake.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
I mean, I never went near the Lake Superior either, though, because like the only lake I was nearby when I lived in Michigan was by Lake Michigan. Lake Superior is liquid Satan.
Yeah.
I think it just
It's
looks a
also-
lot more violent just because it's so small compared to the Pacific Ocean. Let me just put it this way.
Probably.
I think it's probably a lot worse to travel through. All I'm gonna say is, Salem, watch Deadliest Catch. Also, I don't think you can get tidal waves from Lake Superior.
Oh, it's pretty rough.
Yeah, I think most of the tidal waves happen from the Pacific, don't they? I mean, I'm certain the Atlantic can get tidal waves too, but I think most of them happen out in the Pacific, I believe.
They usually, I mean, tidal waves usually get generated from tectonic activity, you know, so deep below the ocean, earthquakes and shit, and that causes the tidal waves. Normally, I might be speaking under correction here, but as far as I know, and it is also due to the fact that the Pacific covers the largest volume of surface area on the planet,
It does.
which means it definitely has a lot more tectonic activity below the waves.
And it's got the Ring of Fire.
The Ring of Fire, the Marianas Trench, all those wonderful little things that add to that.
Lake Michigan is a great lake with kitty gloves. Why do you? Yes, Salem. Why do you think it has most of the tourism in Michigan?
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, dude, that's just like. Yeah, all I'm just gonna say is, Deadliest Catch. There, guys. You can act like being a crab fisherman out on the Pacific. That is fucking dangerous.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's Lake Michigan is a great lake with kitty gloves because it's connected to Chicago, which sucks. Oh, it gets all the tourism because it's connected to Chicago. Also,
But why would
also it's because Lake Michigan has the nicest beachfront property. I can confirm that. I lived near it for 12 years. The beaches on
Yeah,
Lake
that's
Michigan are very pretty.
He also lived in a Coast Guard town.
Yes, Grand Haven.
You know, the funny thing is that I saw someone with a bumper sticker who's proud to be a Coast Guard mom.
I shit you guys not. I was on my way to work once. I was driving behind a vehicle that had the two things Brian hates more than anything, and it was like it's the worst. This is probably the worst thing I could ever show him. I love
Coast Guard and
bumper sticker that says "Love my Coastie" and Dallas Cowboys. If I show him that, all I can say is I'm glad I blacked out the license plate because Brian at that point would probably want to hunt that driver down.
Yeah,
let's
not be accessories to murder here.
Yeah, like I said, I haven't showed him that pic yet, just because I'm not sure if I want to piss him off that badly. It's just like because like he takes one look at that and he's just gonna be like, it's like that one Treehouse of Horror. It's like that one Treehouse of Horror. It's like Urge to Kill Rising. I like Brian's gonna be like, I don't even know who this person is, but I want them dead.
Yeah. Fun times.
Oh wow, I can see. So I can see why Matthew Reese is getting dogpiled by certain people.
What?
Huh? Do tell.
He's arguing with Michael Derrick over the Antarctic Press, the supposed Antarctic Press lie.
Did I
shit.
not fucking call it?
Oh well.
He says that Reese says that the text messages that were released and what were said in deficits and aren't at completely odds, and that Rakita went on about that on Monday. Two things can be true at once. Jodan can own his choices, and he can be bullied.
Yeah,
Fun
like I said, I
times.
looked at that log. You can only get an implication that there's a threat at most from it. They never use Ben Dunn never once says the words Mark Wade called us and threatened us. Just that he called us and my brother was concerned. So what I took from that to mean was that Wade called Antarctic Press and he made implications. And they took that and they extrapolated the worst case scenario from those implications. That's my working theory. Now, I will say there's a caveat because Wade actually does have a history of having some anger management issues. His fits of rage are lit over at Malibu Comics are legendary.
Look,
Yep.
at the end of the day, I don't care too much about it. I mean,
Wait, I got it wrong. It wasn't Malibu, it was cross-gen. I'm just saying. I'm just saying this is just one more wedge to divide Comicsgate is what's going to happen. I'm calling it.
I'm just gonna say that online drama, nobody cares about it in the real world.
No, they
They'll
don't.
just see both sides being idiots.
Yeah. I'm even taking Perch's take on the whole lawsuit. The only people who are going to benefit from this are the lawyers.
yeah, that's true.
And I'm pretty certain that there's probably going to be someone out there who's going to make the claim that that the movement did something that someone else did, such as with Gamergate making the claim that they took down.
Gawker.
Yeah, they took down Gawker, but when it really was Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. Yeah, that is just a fact.
Yep. And Gawker took themselves down because they were well known for being the most hated online publication, especially for the fact that they created the Gawker Stalker, where it allows the paparazzi greater access to celebrities by letting them know where the celebrities were going to be.
Oh my god. Yeah, we are better off without Gawker. I dare anyone to argue that point.
Crazy leftists.
I'd like to see him try.
Anti-Gamergaters because they consider them to be an effective tool. But the only thing that the guys running Gawker understood was that they thought they had the ability to post whatever they wanted without any kind of repercussion,
Mm-hmm.
and that was it. That was the reason why they were so defiant towards Hulk Hogan. They thought they had a case, but they didn't.
They did not. Yeah, you fuck with the man. You fuck with the man's career. You fuck with his livelihood, and he's got more. And he's got more than enough resources to sue you guys.
We're gonna see a repeat of that with Mark Wade.
Well, caveat being that Richard doesn't even have like a fraction of what Hulk Hogan has in terms of resources. Although, as far as I can tell, he looks like he's actually thought this through, though.
And it's not going to have the historic first guy in a do-rag to win a court case.
Now it's going to be a guy with a bad haircut.
That was a mistake.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. I'm just kind of wondering, though, if assuming Richard actually wins the lawsuit, I'm just wondering what kind of precedent this is going to set for the rest of the comics industry as a whole.
I have a feeling that's going to create... It depends, I think, because it's really hard to tell what kind of precedents could be set right now.
I mean, I've seen Judge De La Rosa on Twitter talk about like how using the law is like the only way to beat the SJWs, which he's right about. The caveat, though, is most people don't have the money to do it because pursuing a lawsuit is expensive.
Yeah.
And if you're suing like one of these SJWs, like it just at that point just becomes a war of attrition. They're just hoping you run out of money and just decide to drop it.
Which is what I think CBS is doing with the Tardigrades guy. They're going to bleed him dry before he even reaches court.
Yeah, on the one hand, I kind of get why that mechanism is in there. They don't want anyone being able to just pursue a lawsuit willy-nilly. Like, if you're going to do it, you better be ready to go in for the long haul, and you better be ready to pay.
That's why it's a very big decision.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it makes sense because, like, let me put it this way: if it was cheap to sue somebody, everybody would do it. Sam says it won't be good either way. If Wade wins, nothing changes and the industry feels justified. If Meyer wins, the industry will point to this as an example of how they have it so bad. Well, yeah, like I said, the only people who are going to benefit from this are the lawyers.
Yep.
Let me put it this way: in wrestling terms, it's a heel program. The only difference is that Wade is a bigger heel.
Well, I think that Meyer is trying to do his best to make good comics.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I'm not completely throwing Zach under the bus. But it's just like this is kind of what this whole thing has turned into.
The only thing I really don't like was the whole setting up the GoFundMe on both sides, because Mark Wade can take the hit on his budget, and
Mhm.
the one for mayor was not set up by him. So it was just one big fishing contest. Who can raise the most money in a certain amount of time?
It was.
Of course, we should probably get away from that subject.
Mm-hmm. Enough about that.
Yep.
Indeed.
So, how about that Tolkien biopic?
The what?
They're doing a. Fox is doing a J.R.R. Tolkien biopic.
Oh, really?
Oh, that's going to be funny.
Yep. Yeah, it's not Warner Brothers, so
That's
who
all.
knows how it's going to turn out.
Let's just hope
What?
that. I'm sure that it'll be fair and balanced, and will only present the facts, and won't in any way try to color Tolkien's views as being quaint and of their time, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But of course.
That's just. You guys know who Michael Moorcock is?
Yep.
Tank.
All right.
You know who Michael Moorcock is?
I'm struggling to recall right now.
He's the guy who made the Elric books.
No. Sadly not.
Okay. Well, he's largely credited with sort of creating dark fantasy. He actually met Tolkien once. Yeah. Well, the point is, Moorcock actually met Tolkien once, and he described him as pleasant, but a bit of a crypto-fascist.
Okay.
Which I think Moorcock strikes me as someone who would be a crazy leftist on Twitter. So it seems like anyone to the right of Stalin is a crypto fascist.
Well, here's the thing. It's like you have to sort of, like, as much as I hate using the phrase of their time, you also have to kind of look at the kind of Britain that Tolkien grew up in. Like, this was bad. Like, I think he grew up in like the final days of the British Empire.
Yeah, and back then the whole idea was that the British Empire was a great was the great good.
Well, not just that, it's also like, I mean, all I'm gonna say is, anyone given the era he grew up in, is anyone gonna be surprised he was more of a monarchist? Yes.
No, not really.
Yeah, exactly.
But then again, if I was reading an author's book for their views, I'd be dumb.
It's just, I guess. I mean, I'm not surprised. Tolkien was like part of a classical Britain that's still kind of where the monarchy still had power, and still kind of meant something in people's minds there.
Yeah.
as opposed to what the monarchy now means. It's just now it's just something that the Brits still just keep around for this, I think, for the sake of tradition. But Liz doesn't. Queen Liz does not exactly have any power. We're getting dead air.
Yep, because we're talking about monarchies. But I have a feeling that Murkoch would probably view Frank Herbert as a crypto fascist because of the fact that Herbert had once said that tribalism is basically the one thing that humanity that is one constant in humanity's history. And that's why he had feudal houses in Dune, was to illustrate that point. We'll eventually go back to a feudal system because we don't know any better at times. And one of the ideas they had in mind for Dune's ending was trying to figure out a better system.
Yeah, wasn't that sort of the whole conceit of the Golden Path?
Yep. Unfortunately, his son fucked it all up.
Yeah, well, isn't that always going to be the crux of the matter? If the original author ups and dies or stops writing it, the person who takes up the mantle afterwards will never really amount to anything with the original story.
Because that happened with like the Wheel of Time. Like I've heard, like after Robert Jordan died, like a lot of the guy who took over, like it wasn't bad, but it wasn't up to the standard Jordan had set.
Yeah.
Yep.
Only difference is that we can actually believe that he was basing it off of the final novel outline. In the case of Brian Herbert, it's still its outline. It's been so long that nobody's seen it. Show us that you're actually that this is actually Frank Herbert's work.
Yeah.
Christopher Tolkien released a bunch of his father's unfinished work, and that unfinished work reads as Tolkien would write it. So we have no doubt that they came from Tolkien, and that basically the filler for all of that is Christopher Tolkien's analysis of the story.
Mm-hmm.
And where he believed what his father was trying to tell.
I also think the guy who took over the Wheel of Time from Robert Jordan, I think he also probably buckled a little bit under the pressure.
Oh yeah, he was a fan, and Jordan's wife is also his editor now.
Yeah. I mean, I think he just I have to imagine like he's approached by Jordan's widow, and she says, "You're the guy to do it," and he's like, "Oof." He's just looking at everything else, and he's saying, like, "How can I write anything that matches this?"
Well, as it turned out fairly well, all things considered.
Yeah, like I said, the vibe I have is that most people think those books, like the post Jordan books, they're not bad, just not up to his standard.
Yeah. To be honest, I think that's probably why Kevin Anderson was approached to be a co-writer, because he couldn't figure out how to write in the same way that his father did. And Anderson was pretty well known for his sci-fi fantasy stories.
Do you know?
Yeah.
How much you want to bet that Ice and Fire is never gonna finish?
I don't think so either.
I think it's very likely that it's not going to finish.
Yeah.
He's talked about how he feels intimidated by the project now because of the success of the TV show.
Which, yeah, it's like there's no, and I think also George R. R. Martin kind of just feels like there is nothing he can write that will live up to everyone else's expectations.
The things I think he's going to be able to finish will be that whole 2-volume history of the Targaryens.
Yay.
I honestly think he should just man up and finish writing it and just stand by his work when he releases it, even if people don't like it. But that's me.
You probably should.
Well, based on what I heard about the guy, he's more of a passive aggressive kind of person, such as for quite some time he blocked JMS from joining the writing team of the 80s Twilight Zone series because he liked the idea of being the only sci-fi writer on the staff.
Wow.
Shit. So he's actually a little bitch.
Yep. No, he's not. He's a fat bitch.
Hank, don't you compliment him while insulting him.
Oh, I'm playing with your expectations.
What I mean by little bitch is because, I mean, to be perfectly honest, I don't care what the size of the person is. It's just literally the fact that he would do such petty little shit like that. That is the funniest thing of it all.
Yep.
Yep.
I don't disagree.
But again, we don't read their stories because we think they're good people. It's whether or not they are
Write a
able
good
to
story.
tell a compelling story.
Yeah, I mean, like for perspective, people still like John Lennon's music, and he was a wife beater.
Now, apparently, he turned conservative in his last years.
I find that hard to believe.
Doesn't matter to me.
Guy's dead anyway, so
I never liked his music anyway.
Not even the stuff he did with the Beatles.
I think the Beatles are overrated. And yes, them's fighting words.
Hey, I got no dog in that fight. I don't care about the Beatles.
yeah, same here.
The
I have
reason
no
I
dog
say
in the
that
fight
is
because
because
Obama ate it.
I just acknowledge the Beatles as important to the history of rock, and that's it.
I think the only reason they were successful as they were is because they pretty much just brought out a sound that people liked. Not actually because they were good musicians, just because they managed to do something nice. You know, they struck at the correct time. They struck while the iron was hot.
Kind of the same reason Nirvana got big. Just they were in the right place
Yeah.
at the right time.
And pretty much the same reason World of Warcraft became the fucking phenomenon it was. It was the best MMO available at the time. It wasn't a good game. I still don't think it's a good game mechanically, but it does enough things right, and it came out at exactly the correct time for it to be the mass. Yet, in terms of rock and roll artists from the same era, they are grossly overshadowed by guys like the Stones, Hendrix, and people like that.
Yeah, I mean, my friend Sam, he says like everything the Beatles did, the Beach Boys did better.
That they did. That they did. I mean, there's a whole thread that I saw the other day where people compared the two groups. At the end of the day, the Beatles changed their sound on a regular. The Beach Boys pretty much maintained the same idea the whole time.
Well, they still got a little experimental though, but yeah, their stuff was more consistent.
Yeah. I mean, you could debate these points to death, but I stand by my points. I say literally that they overrated, and nobody will ever change my mind on that one.
We'll just say it, the Beach Boys were better. If I had Sam in this, he'd be going on a whole tangent about how much better the Beach Boys are. He loves the Beach Boys.
I listened to some of this stuff when my folks put it on growing up. It's like, yeah, this is cool, but not really my thing.
Okay, here's something funny. I just saw on Twitter. Hulu's doing a Catch-22 series.
Who?
Hulu.
Oh, the other streaming service. There's so many other fucking things now.
I'm just wondering, how do you I mean, of all the books to adapt into a series, you pick Catch-22?
Oh Lord, that's not a
Well.
good one.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Catch-22 it's one of those non-linear novels, isn't it?
Yep. It could probably work as a movie, but not as a series.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't. And I think like unless about the only way they could make that work as a series is if they actually try telling the events of the novel in order, but they don't but then that kind of misses the point of why the novel's narrative is told out of order. It's supposed to make you feel confused and like you're trapped in a haze. And everything only makes sense once you get to the end.
Yeah. Speaking of things on Twitter, you saw earlier today, or well, last night for you, but for me it was earlier today, where that artist modernized those two Disney characters.
Yeah.
That's not modernizing. That's just blatantly fucking shut up. Look, granted, it took them some time to draw it, do it all. You know, I'm not going to take away from the skill that went into it, but I am going to say that it looks shit.
I don't think there's really that much skill. All you did was just. It looks like a recolor I've seen on DeviantArt.
Yeah.
Well, be that as it may, there's still skill that went into it. There's still work that went into them doing that. So props to them for putting in some effort. But seriously, why redo old things? Why can't you just make something else? You've clearly got a talent for it. Just make something new. Which is probably my biggest problem I have with anybody, and this goes to anybody on any side doing reimagines of any character. You have the ability to do something. Rather focus on the stuff that you can create new. That is a much better expenditure of your time and energy. But no, everybody has to prove a point to gender swap this character, reimagine a character like that.
I don't know.
And I don't.
I honestly can't fathom
I
why.
get why they want to do it, because they want to get a rise out of the other side. But come the fuck on, people. That's like grade school fighting shit.
Let me put it this way. At least when
Welcome to Twitter.
Let me put it this way. When Ginger at least does like other people's characters and other people as ponies, at least it's just a gimmick.
Yeah, see that that's reimagining the characters as ponies. What I'm talking about is blatantly taking a character, like say, taking James Bond and gender swapping James Bond. That doesn't fucking work.
Yeah.
You've got, I mean, there was that wonderful video game series, No One Lives Forever, which was probably the best adaptation that you would get of a female James Bond, yet Kate Archer was her own character.
Yeah.
Brilliantly written and well done. I would love it if people could just use the energy to do more stuff like that instead.
Hmm. Yeah. I don't disagree with you there. But like
Look,
I
I
said,
get most people want to do it as parodies and this and that, but come on.
yeah. Like I
Some of
said,
it is a little bit too blatantly on the nose to be parody.
yeah, it's definitely parody when Ginger makes a pony version of, say, Regina or Sporkman.
Juan Pool is a parody of a parody, which is incidentally a parody of another.
Well,
Yeah.
parody of a ripoff.
Yeah. So, but in each iteration, and I've gone back and I've read some of the Gwenpool stuff, that could have been an interesting character. Just needed literally a better writer. The art wasn't bad. The writing just needed to be improved.
Hmm.
That's my take on that one. And that is probably the saddest part of a lot of these reimagined new characters. They don't have people behind them that can write interesting, compelling stories. I mean, we had the same discussion last week with Grand Comics and Carl Oro. It's just like these people don't know how to create compelling stories, sadly.
And it's not just that. I think Matt even
That is
touched on this.
why I will be a little bit easier on this character than the others, but still the fact remains. They tried to do something interesting, but they just did not have the capacity to write the character in a compelling way.
Yeah. And it's just like, I don't know. It's just like Gwenpool just. I don't think I was ever gonna like Gwenpool just because something about her just always felt very, very gimmicky to me.
Well, once again, doesn't matter if it's a gimmick character. It comes down to can they be written well. I mean, we can talk about this at length, and we will talk about this at length. But you can take pretty much any character that Marvel has currently packed up, give them a proper reboot with a decent writer and a good art team and a editor who knows what the heck he or she is doing, and I will guarantee you that any of these characters can be written well. They can become their own characters in their own way. Even derided and hated characters like Riri Williams, Ironheart, give that character her own chance to shine in a properly written book, and she could become a very good character. That is honestly what I believe. I mean, they did take the time to try and come up with a new character. Unfortunately, they couldn't follow through.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't finish, essentially. That's the problem.
I guess.
Then, on the other hand, you get the absolute horror shit shows America Chavez and Gabby Rivera. That character was completely destroyed with the intention of trying to push a agenda. No effort was made to write that character in a compelling way.
I don't know if you guys saw this, but there was a video I came across in LinkedIn Slack. This guy called the Fourth Age. He was looking over like how the way comics are colored nowadays is trying to send some sort of ideological message because they're so much more muted and desaturated these days, and they're overusing the orange and teal effect.
That's a very in-depth, but they're probably onto something there.
Well, I mean, at the first At first, I was like, okay, really? I mean, I get that the people behind these are ideologues, but you're really thinking that it's that blatant. It's like there's that much propaganda. It's like I'm very wary of people who are saying like everything is a propaganda because like this was stuff we raked Anita Sarkeesian over the coals for when she said everything is sexist, everything is racist.
And that's a problem. Everybody's now jumping on the other bandwagon. Everything is propaganda.
Yeah,
I don't think everything is propaganda, but I do think that there is something that they are overusing certain color palettes.
Yeah.
I mean, just take any random independent comic, from Twitter. I'm going to use Red Ninja Mamiji as a very good example. Take the colors that you see in Mamiji and compare it to any mainstream comic from the big two. You know, not the smaller independently published books like Unnatural by Mirka and Dolfo or any of that. I'm talking about Batman, Spider-Man, those.
I haven't.
The interiors definitely do look a lot more dull than say you would see in Momiji.
Yeah. Yeah, that I will.
So
That,
there is something to
that I
that.
won't argue. That I definitely will not argue.
But I think it's something a little bit more simple than that.
Yeah. I don't know if it's
Much more
really
easily
meant to send an ideological message. Yeah, like I said, that's what I'm skeptical about.
No, it's definitely sending a message. I'm not fucking getting paid enough to do this properly.
Also, well, he did also.
I think that's the message it's sending.
He did also bring up one thing that I thought at least probably had. He brought up one point that I thought did at least have some veracity. That this is all done for the sake of the digital market, so that these comics all aren't too harsh from device to device. I mean, from device to device, like they have to look good on all devices and shit because they're all doing them digitally now.
I can't say that because I have a rather extensive digital collection by now, and I've read them on two different phones with different displays. First was a Lumia 950 XL. I'm currently on a Samsung J6, which has got a smaller, much more inferior screen to the Lumia. And I've read on my PC monitor, and I can honestly tell you that the vibrant colors that I've seen, I don't think that that's a thing either. Literally, I think the reason that they color them down as much is purely for the fact. Same goes for the art, the line work, and all that shit. These guys are not getting paid nearly enough to leverage their talent, so they put in minimum viable efforts.
Or it's like they're hiring people who just won't, who just don't have that kind of work ethic. Like, let me put it this way. Like, I'm definitely not paying Ginger Big 2 rates, but I have to wonder if, like, say, like, let's just, like, hypothetically, let's say Ginger had Big 2 work, would they be letting her color the way she does?
No, I don't think they would. Honestly, I think her color work is a bit too happy for the dull and dreary drone, worker drone mindset that you have to work for the big comic too. If that makes any sense. I honestly think that any of the brilliant colorists that I've seen in the independent scene thus far, even Cole himself, Cole Aro, I mean, gee, bloody hell, dude. I mean, I will never see him. I don't see his work, and I mean this as a compliment. I will never see his work being published by one of the big publishers. His work is just too brilliant for that. The colors are too vibrant. Everything, I mean, those old silly tropes from the old movies from the 80s where everything from the mega corporations and all that shit is dull and dreary and washed out? That is literally what DC and Marvel have become. They have become the real world manifestations of these things that we used to parody and laugh at in these movies.
Like RoboCop?
Yeah. They've essentially
become OPEC.
Comics.
No, it wasn't called OPEC. Fuck.
Omni Consumer Project. Omni Consumer Products.
OCP, that was it. Yeah, they
They've
become
literally become the OCP of comics in the real world.
I gotta wonder, so if they're OCP, who's Dick Jones in this scenario?
That I don't know, and I do not want to find out, and I especially don't want to know what they're planning on doing for their version of ED 209.
Like guy who also turned Murphy into RoboCop. He was a bit of a scumbag too.
True. But honestly, I don't want to see their version of Ed 209, but what if we have already?
Well, I think we can definitely guess what Marvel's version of 209 was. It was America.
Yeah, because it did so much damage to the company's own stuff as well. It's not even funny.
Actually, Ed 209 for DC is Tom King.
I can't really comment on his writing because I haven't read any of it. So I'm just going to steer clear of that one. But I have unfortunately subjected myself to America. So yeah, I would agree that that is pretty much it. 8-9 for Marvel is America Chavez.
Yeah. I can probably also so be willing to believe that maybe the coloring they do this is just because maybe it's just cheaper on the printing. Because Marvel, it's kind of funny. Marvel is finding every way to cut costs when it goes into producing these comics, but they're not doing anything to lower the price on the comic themselves.
Nope, because they want maximized profits. Which is where dumbing down and dulling down your coloring for digital absolutely makes no sense because there is no printing costs involved.
True.
Digital is probably one of the easiest ways to maximize profit for a company.
Yeah,
Because there is no inventory space, there is no overhead to be paying, stores and everything. There's no printing costs. You just need to pay a guy depending on how much the salary is, but the guy in the editing department to just put the PDF together in the correct order, make sure that the editor and everybody signs off on it, and you're done. There's, like I said, no printing fees, no shipping fees, all that just goes out the window.
But yeah, it was kind of the other point about what Fourth Age was making, which this was like one of his points that just kind of made me raise my eyebrow. Like he said, like they went with these softer colors and this orange and teal effect because it makes the colors look less threatening. And this is them trying to feminize comics.
Nah, that definitely sounds to me like a bullshit theory. I mean, I'm more cynical than most, but honestly, I think that guy's just grasping.
Well, he said he's been listening to a lot of Marvel's podcasts and trying, like, getting an idea of how these people think. Like, some things he's probably right about, like the way, like how when Mariko Tamaki has She-Hulk moping around watching cooking shows because that's what she does. He's probably right about that.
Yeah, that's one thing I will definitely agree on. The fact that these people are projecting themselves into these characters a little bit too much. They're making these characters self-inserts. I will probably agree with that because that would make a lot of sense why these characters are suddenly not quote-unquote heroic anymore.
Yeah. As far as the coloring just sort of being like some kind of way to bring in a more female audience, I mean, like, on the one hand, Marvel has actually been sort of making that push to try and get girls, try to bring in a more female-centric audience.
But then when you read the general reactions of actual female fans,
Well, I think the audience they're trying to aim for is like really young girls, like girls that are younger than Nerd Wonder.
Yeah, but dude, let's be honest here. Comics are like video games. You either like them or you don't.
Yeah, no.
And even the so-called crowd that the video game companies are aiming for will never play the core titles. They won't. They'll stick to the games they play on their mobile phone, those quick games of whatever it is they play these days. You know, just to pass your time on your commute if you're on a train or something, just to literally pass the time, and then they put their phone away and the game's forgotten. They will never actually invest time in a game like The Division 2 or Ghost Recon Wildlands. I mean, I put a lot of time into that already. I'm up to, where is the statistics? A couple of 100 hours into it already.
And what's I think well, let me just put it this way: most women, they're not like Stephanie. They're not like
No,
they're not like Vamp. They're not like Blossom.
no, they're not. Being a fan of any sort of form of entertainment requires a level of investment that a lot of people are not willing to give. And companies chasing this demographic, unfortunately, are always going to come off second best. EA has now recently started seeing that. I mean, look at them with their whole Battlefield 5 debacle of if you don't like it, don't buy it.
Yeah.
Apart from Battlefield Hardline, Battlefield 5 is probably their biggest failure. I mean, it's still sold, but in terms of previous Battlefield titles, Battlefield 5 is an abject failure in terms of how much it brought in. The damage done by Patrick Soderlund with his utterances have damaged EA stocks. Even the amounts they got back from Apex Legends really has not recovered them to the point where they could say that, yeah, we're doing better now. They're not. And that is the thing. The problem is these companies listen to people like Sarkeesian. Forget this one group. Over there is a much larger, much better group for you. Go for them. There's money. And EA has done that. They have pushed that and they have paid the price for it.
Mm-hmm.
Any industry that doesn't aim to expand but replace an existing fan base is only going to set themselves up for a severe financial disappointment down the line. And until such a point in time as these companies take a severe enough financial knock, they won't learn. Because the only thing that these people listen to at the end of the day is money. The problem for Marvel and DC is they haven't lost enough money yet. So the suits and the higher-ups at Warner Brothers and at Disney won't care until these things are actually starting to cost them, when these things become a severe loss, a severe drain on resources to them. Same goes for any other company. And until such a point in time, we will unfortunately be subject to the crying, whining, bitching, and moaning videos that we see on a daily basis on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually reached a point where I don't care if the next Avengers is a good film. I honestly don't. I will sadly not watch it, mainly due to the constant drama and bullshit surrounding these movies these days.
I'm not gonna go see it just because I've just kind of gotten bored of the MCU.
I'm not bored. What kills it for me is the tribalistic fanboyism. Look, yes, I get it. I was a fan. I still am a fan, but the shit surrounding it has sucked the fun out for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was that thing today with the guy that went to see Captain Marvel around 100 times.
I refuse to believe that that's real.
I can believe it.
160. Who has time and money to see a single movie in the theater 116 times?
Well, it could be that he's watching it in the shows that are usually cheaper. I don't know our cinemas wherever he works, but over here by us, they have specific days that the movies are half price.
There is a theater in Lakewood that has cheaper tickets on Tuesdays.
Yeah, same idea. Yeah, but ours are on Wednesdays. And then let's say it's like my one friend that actually lives off of a fairly generous disability check each month due to his company that set him up with a good package, and then he unfortunately did get into a severe enough motorcycle accident that he now has more free time and money on his hands and he knows what to do with himself with. Or alternatively, I floated the idea that A, the guy really enjoys the movie, B, he's trying to prove a point, or C, he's going to the theater this many times because he's actually avoiding a much bigger issue in his real life. So he's going to the theater, taking a sleeping tab or two, and just passing out in the theater for a couple of hours, and then heads back home.
Mm-hmm. Salem says, I'd like to see some original ideas that are not connected to a universe. I would rather go and see more standalone films and get a diverse selection.
That is also a good thing. I mean, at the end of the day, films are also becoming guilty of this. Everything has to be connected to something else.
Like originality.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel
yeah, well, but that's the problem. Coming up with something original,
it's risky.
is hard. No,
Well,
it's risky. It's hard. It's risky, and nobody wants to risk it anymore. Everybody just wants the safe, easy money, which is why we are seeing rehash upon rehash upon reboots upon redo upon whatever else you want to call these things from everybody. We are probably going to see. I'm dropping a prediction. I mean, we're now a little more over a month away from E3 2019. I foresee a lot of Battle Royale titles. We're going to see another iteration of our good friend Call of Duty. We'll probably see or hear about the dying gasps of DICE and BioWare this year, also at E3. And then there is the strange French publisher called Ubisoft that has actually done quite well recently. I mean, I'm just looking at their latest big releases. I mean, they did go semi-woke in Assassin's Creed, but not to the point where they actually, chased away so much of their fan base that it damaged the brand's recognition.
Yeah, Unity did that enough.
Yeah, it did well enough. Then you had the recent launch of The Division 2, which I played the original one, over 300 something odd hours of the original. They actually, because they stuck with their game, patched it up, fixed it up, and released it, and got to the point where Division 1 was actually a good title. Instead of using the Destiny model of removing content to resell it to you later, their aim with Division 2 was give you the complete game with a lot of content already in it, and then we'll just add in more stuff later. That is how Division 2 is done. Rainbow Six Siege, another game that people really did not like originally at launch. It's now still one of the most played titles that I've seen on Twitch and everything, mainly because they stuck with it. They fixed up the bugs, they listened to community feedback, and they gave people what they wanted. And that is a hallmark of Ubisoft at this point in time, a company that actually listens actively to their active player base's feedback. Yeah, they still unfortunately fall foul of the social justice crowd. I mean, the recent debacle with people that actually went out of their way to find such an innocuous thing from the art in the fucking game in Division 2. And obviously the woke media outlets went ballistic and they're like, fine. but they've stuck to their guns by keeping their games apolitical, which is something that is to be commended, I suppose, at the end of the day, considering they're the French.
Mhm.
But yeah, so we'll probably see. But back to predictions. I'm thinking we'll probably see something to do with the next Ghost Recon. It'll probably be an open world title sandbox thing like Wildlands again, which is a lot of fun. Or we'll probably see another the final Splinter Cell title, which will probably also be some open world sandbox thing, which, if done well, I think could actually fit Splinter Cell quite well. But I would prefer if they take it back to the more linear roots of the former titles. Specifically, if they can give you the range of movement options that you had in Pandora Tomorrow, the second one, but give you a compelling story and single player campaign like you had in Chaos Theory, they'd have a winner. Obviously, with more modern graphics, I think that would be a brilliant title. Then from Activision, well, like I said, we'll probably see the next Call of Duty and whatever else nonsense they're planning. We'll probably hear more about the next Fallout or Elder Scrolls from our good friends over at Bethesda. We'll probably see some nice show-offs of the next Wolfenstein game and obviously Doom Eternal.
They also better be showing off stuff for Starfield.
At this point in time, I really don't care too much because considering their recent scrubs with some of their titles, I'm not calling them dead in the water just yet, but they're going to have to show up in force with something good. And then they will probably see, the usual dick waving contests between the console big names, between Sony and Microsoft. But I've been keeping an eye on the Nintendo Switch, and they're actually picking up a lot of titles that you wouldn't normally have expected to appear on a Nintendo console. I mean, hell, Doom 2016 made its way over to the Nintendo Switch. It's like, what? One of the most violent games recently, and it's on the freaking Switch.
Yeah, I would have thought.
Well, one thing, Nintendo loves money. Nintendo realized we want more money, we must expand our player base. And the only way we're going to do that is if we get more of these titles in. And they're doing quite well for themselves. But yeah, that's pretty much what I foresee for E3 2019. But as always, what I will say for everybody is just maintain a healthy dose of skepticism. Like I did for Anthem. I went in with low expectations, very low expectations actually, and I came out of it suitably impressed with some of it, but the game felt unfinished. Literally, Anthem felt like it should have been a single-player game. But because single-player titles and live service things don't mix, we got the unfinished, horrible mess that we got now.
Which is funny because hearing Richard Garriott talk about Ultima Online and how much of a struggle it was to get EA to get on board with an online title, seems like EA loves making 180s.
Well, you have to take into account the time when Ultima Online came out.
Yeah,
Online gaming wasn't really a thing back then. Games as a service weren't even a thought. As much as I appreciate the advent of high-speed internet and what it allows us to do, it has unfortunately allowed these companies to become lazy, complacent, and, for lack of a better term, stupid. Because what the wonders of the internet and fast connections have allowed them to do is follow the tenets of release it now, fix it later. the tenets laid down by Shigeru Miyamoto. A delayed game will eventually be good, or was it Satoru Iwata? Well, either way, doesn't matter. The fact remains, it's fucking the best pills of wisdom that they could ever give these guys. A delayed game is eventually good. A rushed game is forever bad. Fun times on
Problem
that
is that
one.
there needs to be some caveats to that, because there are certain games that have been late and absolute trash.
Duke Nukem Forever.
Yep. Alien Colonial Marines.
Yeah,
Mass
but
Effect Andromeda wasn't a masterpiece when it came out, despite its delays.
yeah, true. That is true. I mean, the amount of times that thing was delayed. Aliens Colonial Marines is bad for the absolute sheer fact that it changed hands of development houses so many times.
Yep.
That's the other problem. And then finally, when it got back to Gearbox, I don't even want to go there.
There's a whole bunch of crazy that goes on there.
Yeah.
I just cringed.
What did you find?
Oh, for fuck's sakes. Really, Twitter? Did you have to go and update the website that it's like your crappy desktop app as well? For fuck's sake.
I switched over to the old Twitter.
Yeah, I'd like to go back to the old Twitter because this is shit.
Yeah, you just gotta
There
go.
we go.
You
Got
can't.
it.
No, you can't. No, you can't. Just go to your profile page.
I found it.
Told you.
Found it. Why are you switching? Give feedback. Here's why. The new version is shit.
It's kind of like how. It's kind of like how I'm trying to think. What was that? What was that one gaming website that kept updating its UI, and each one was worse than the last? Game Trailers. That was it. Game Trailers kept doing that all the time.
Yeah, to the point where they fucked it up so badly nobody ever went back and they crashed.
Yeah. No more Game Trailers is gone. Nobody goes.
Yeah.
I think it's. Yeah, actually, I think it is. I think it actually is gone.
Yep.
If it exists, I think if it still exists, I do believe they might have absolutely no traffic anymore whatsoever. And it's literally just remaining alive on live support.
Yeah, I think that. I'd be surprised. What's the bet? The domain is up for grabs now. I bet
What
the domain
do I
is up
make
for
of
grabs.
this? What to make of that?
I mean, if the domain is up for grabs, then that means we can. That means we could own GameTrailers.com.
Why would you want to?
I don't know, just to say you. I guess just to say you do.
Yeah, well, a couple of months ago, I wish I had around R1 million to pay because then I could have owned the ANC's entire website. Yeah, no, it's a funny story. Because they were unable to pay their hosting company, their entire website with all the infrastructure and everything that was already built up was up for grabs. You only needed to be able to pay around a cool R1 million a month.
Jeez.
Yeah. Would have been funny though, being able to own their website and then do with it whatever the fuck I wanted. But sadly, I did not have the money. Why, oh why is this shit for us?
I don't know.
No. Listen, New York Times. In push for 2020 election security, top official was warned. Don't tell Trump.
Huh.
Okay.
So they don't want the president to run for president?
I have no idea.
I'm not going to read the article. I'm not going to give them click traffic. World's most dangerous bird for sale after killing its owner. This I actually do want to read.
What was that for? What the fuck was that for? I heard a beep.
No wonder.
That was a
Not from me.
fire
anyway.
alarm going off.
Hey! Shut.
Okay. I'm just checking.
Guess where this bird's
I'm
from?
checking the time. We've been going this for almost 2 hours. Are we gonna go into Kumite time?
I think we can pretty much
I don't think-
call this one off. So after this one, the bird was from fucking Australia.
Of course. You know, it's
I'm
funny
not
you
surprised.
mentioned that. You know, it's funny you mentioned that when I also brought the Kumite because yesterday, Killing Joke was tearing into Aquagene because everything in his country is just full of animals that want to kill you.
Yes. Yes, that is true. Everything in fucking Australia wants to kill you, even the people.
Why does it? You know, it actually makes a good point. Why does anyone want to live in Australia? It's full of just animals that are out to get you,
No idea.
especially in the outback. It's
Yeah, and then
nothing-
they also got the weirdest fucking animals, like the damn platypus.
Yeah. You got the platypus, you got the crocodile, you got sharks in this coast.
Blue-ringed octopus.
Fuck even there's the fucking emos, there's the
Dingoes.
dingoes, even kangaroos will pick a fight with you.
Snakes. Spiders. You know, the usual.
Scorpions.
Yeah, we got them as well.
I'm gonna double check that. See, does Australia have scorpions? Yeah. They do have scorpions, but they're not fatal. They're not lethal.
No, the spiders and shit in Australia are bad.
Yeah. Like they've got the funnel web. They got redback. They got mount. Yeah, like they got some really dangerous spiders in Australia. Some of the most venomous ones on the world.
Yeah, and there's the one thing that really fucking pisses me off. Its venom is fairly harmless to humans, but it's deadly towards dogs.
Well, here's the thing: the most
Yeah.
dangerous spiders are the Sydney funnel web. Highly toxic venom produced in large amounts and large in fangs to inject.
See? That thing's just literally out to kill you.
Other funnel web, redback spider, which looks like the redback looks like a black widow.
Who cares? See big spider, crush it.
Mouse spider, trapdoor spiders, whitetail spiders, Australian tarantulas, recluse. Oh, those things are really bad. Huntsman spiders.
Yeah, we got huntsman and recluse spiders in South Africa as well.
I'm surprised the scorpions are less dangerous. Australia's
But then on the other hand, we've got a larger variety of snakes. Let's see, we've got splitting cobras, we've got
Salem says
mambas.
Australia's where evolution samples its end times creatures. You know what? If I could believe Australia's basically turning into a giant evolutionary lab for fucking kaiju.
All you need now is to introduce the fucking Tyranids there, and well fucked.
Yep.
Okay, I want to look at the snake. Snake. Most deadliest snakes. The eastern brown snake. Fast moving, aggressive, and known for their bad temper. That's great. Their venom is ranked as the second most toxic of any land snake in the world. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Western brown snake. Mainland tiger snake. Inland taipan. Coastal taipan. Mulga snake. Lowlands copperhead. Oh, Vamp would hate this one. Vamp hates copperheads with a passion. Small-eyed snake. Common death adder. Red-bellied black snake. Well, the crocodiles are essentially already kaiju.
Yeah. Oh, the saltwater crocodiles that they got there. Yes, you heard correctly. Saltwater crocodiles.
I grew up watching Crocodile Hunter. I know those are a thing.
That's the fucking worst thing. Oh, you think you're going to be safe in the fucking ocean? Nope. Here comes the big ass motherfucking crocodile.
You're not. You're not going to be safe in the ocean, even if saltwater crocs aren't a thing, because the Australian coast still has sharks.
Sharks. And let's not forget the blue-ringed octopus.
Yeah.
That motherfucker's venomous. Very, very venomous.
Yeah, it's like the least harm. Let me put it this way: the most harmless animals in Australia are emus and kangaroos.
And even then, a kangaroo can kill you by kicking you.
Yeah. Well, I just put it this way: don't bother a kangaroo; it won't bother you. But emus, I mean, like, Australia had declared war on emus because they were wrecking farmland.
Yeah, everything in Australia wants to kill you or harm you in some way or another.
Well, that's just because the emus kept running over farmland. They're just too stupid to know what they're doing. Like I said, with the exception of the emus are just a problem just because they're a nuisance and they wreck people's properties. Kangaroos, like I said, don't bother them; they won't bother you. Everything else, it's like a fight for survival in Australia. Holy shit, here's some saltwater crocs can live for up to 70 years, and they can go between 15 and 18 miles per hour in the water. These guys they're fast.
Jeez.
I'm trying to remember. Was there an episode of Crocodile Hunter where was there an episode of Crocodile Hunter where Steve Irwin actually wrestled one of those? I feel like he did. I feel like I remember seeing that. Steve Irwin versus saltwater crocodile. I have this image in my head. He did. He actually also found out I remember the Great Emu War. I lost my best dingo on the front lines. Haha. I also found out that Steve Irwin actually they practiced MMA. He didn't do it professionally, but he just practiced it.
Not surprised.
Well, if you're gonna wrestle crocodiles, I guess you probably should take a little MMA.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, comparatively speaking, how many things in South Africa want to kill you, Tank? Government does not count.
Well, if you piss off a lion, it'll kill you. The rhinos will pretty much fuck you up. Piss off an elephant, they'll crush you, provided. Then we've got a fair share of snakes and spiders as well. I don't know if the name actually if we call it the sock spider, called the sack spider. That's got a very, very nasty little venom. It breaks down tissue. So yeah, very nasty. My mother and grandmother were bitten by these bastards. It left nice little holes, you know, that to be healed up over time later on. Then we obviously have got the Runkals, which is pretty much a variant of the cobra family.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, these bastards are quite interesting because they've been known to sleep in the middle of the road. Then if a car travels by it, it jumps up literally, and it's been captured on film, into the engine compartment where it's warm. And then when the vehicle stops, it drops off, and that's how you get a nice little fucking snake surprise the next morning by your car. So you're driving through the bush, this bastard jumps up into your fucking vehicle, and now you get a
How does
snake
it
in your
not
driveway.
get chewed up by the engine?
It's fuck knows how they wriggle in there, but it's it's they.
Actually, how do they not even get singed?
It's like I said, I don't know how they do it, but they fucking manage it.
I know for a fact vehicle engines get super hot.
They do. But they usually, I think it'll be around the shocks or somewhere there, by the shock absorbers or something, by the front wheels, by the engine base. So probably around there. Close enough to the heat, but not too close that it would obviously get burnt. Then we've got the green and black mambas. We've got the tree snakes, the boomslang, brown recluse spider. We also have a fairly small amount of black widows that I saw every now and again. We've got venomous scorpions, hyenas.
That hyenas were scavengers.
Oh no, trust me, they'll fucking kill you. A pack of hyenas will kill a lone lion. They will. They are scavengers to a point of until they are numerically superior, then they'll fucking go out and kill.
Do you want to know how many things want to kill you out in Washington?
I'm pretty certain you've got a fair amount of stuff that wants to kill you.
We got wolves.
No, the cops don't count.
They what? A what?
The cops.
Oh. Washington, we've got wolves.
They'll fucking kill you.
We've got cougars.
Giant cats. Yay.
Let's see. Those are the two big ones off the top of my head. Okay, dangerous animals in Washington.
Oh, sorry, I also forgot. If you're in the incorrect part in South Africa, you can also get bitten by a fucking malaria-carrying mosquito.
Yeah, of course. A fucking disease-carrying mosquitoes.
Yep.
Like I said, Washington, we've got wolves. We got cougars. I know those for off the top of my head. Not a lot of predators except for those two. Well, we've also got eagles, but eagles normally don't attack people. They will attack. They have been known to grab small dogs, though.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, also we got black bears, but they're not as aggressive as grizzlies. Like black bear, don't bother it; it won't bother you.
Like I said, I should point out that the Kumite just ended about 10 minutes ago, and the stream time is 3 hours and 27 minutes.
Damn.
So
So we
are
are
we-
going. Looks like we are going into Kumite time.
Yep.
Oh, well.
I'm trying to find. Okay, let's see. The most dangerous animal in Washington is fucking wasps.
Had to be an insect. I think the most dangerous things over in Michigan are bullets.
What have you?
Well,
Okay.
now we basically got the same thing as you do, and coyotes.
Oh yeah, I
Ha-ha.
forgot we got coyote. I forgot we have coyotes too up in Washington. Wait, you've got wolves and cougars out in Michigan too?
More or less. More wolves.
Oh, actually, do you want to know what animal doesn't actually seem like it's very threatening, but it's actually a danger? It's like
What?
it's a hazard.
Hmm.
Moose.
I can believe that.
Yeah, moose are
I
not.
mean,
Moose are not. They're not dangerous, but they're a hazard.
don't
Ever
bust
see
them
what
up.
happens when a pickup truck collides with a moose?
I've seen what happens when a bucky collides with a fucking rhinoceros.
Kind of the same thing. The moose
Yeah.
is the only one that gets away unscathed.
Yeah. Funny.
Like I said, they're not. Moose are chill most of the time, but they're a road hazard.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's something that you wouldn't think is a road hazard, but it is
What?
a guinea fowl. We call them a tarantal in Afrikaans. Basically, small fucking hardy birds that are like stone. I've seen cars that hit these birds and the car gets fucked up.
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh wait, actually, I forgot if we're including animals that are also that are kind of road hazards. Both me and Matt have deer.
Yep.
Yeah. Although the difference is, if a car hits a deer, it probably won't get as damaged as opposed to if it hits a moose.
I can verify that. I hit a deer once. Did not total my car.
How did it go for the deer though?
Dead.
Shit.
Yep.
But you feel really glad you haven't collided with a moose yet.
Oh yeah. I'm glad I don't live in Canada.
There are moose in Michigan.
Yeah, but not in my area, so that doesn't.
I think
I don't think.
if I remember correctly, most of the moose are like in the UP and the northern, in the northern part of the LP2, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm in the more southern area.
Yeah.
Away from all those.
Like I said,
Oh.
you would not think a moose would be a threat, but it's just more of a hazard.
Yep. Anything can be a hazard if it's big enough.
Salem says the moose will rise again. Like I said, I'm just like, yeah. I don't live in Washington, so I don't have to worry about moose. There are no moose in Washington. But like I said, we got wolves and cougars. Now, they're easy enough to avoid. Just stay out of their territory.
Don't be stupid.
Yeah, Yeah, that's what's actually good. The predators we have are just territorial. So don't bother them, they don't bother you.
Pretty much.
Usually.
And I don't know, it's just like, unlike, say, Australia, where they've got predators that are just going to attack you for whatever reason. Actually, could you? I know you said South Africa has South Africa's predators. Most of them also, they're pretty territorial, aren't they?
I mean, what a lot of people have found out at the end of the day is you're pretty fairly fine when it comes to lions and stuff when they take you on game drives and stuff. Lions only really become a problem once they get hungry.
Really? I would think.
Yep.
I would think like lions get aggressive if you get too close to them.
Have you seen how close these guys get?
I have not.
You know, so you've never watched these documentaries.
Maybe just don't remember off the top of my head.
They get the guards get pretty close to the lions, but that's usually because they know around which times the lions have already fed. So the lions are more likely to just lie around like lazy fucks because they stuff themselves.
Oh, they are. Huh. They're like big house cats that way.
Pretty much.
Although, I mean, a house cat won't try to maul you if it's hungry.
Well, it's not so much the fact that the lion tries to maul you. I mean, if it's hungry, it sees you as a source of food.
Yeah, I know. That's what I would.
And you know that the stories that people come up with that these animals develop a taste for human flesh. No, it's not that they develop a taste for human flesh. It's just that you are the closest, nearest, slowest snack available for them.
Okay, so in other words, if you approach a line after it's eaten, it's okay.
Provided you don't get too close, obviously, because i.e. territory, and then they'll just, fucking kill you.
Okay, so
And
yeah.
then hyenas will usually eat you.
Okay, so for the most part, lions, they're like wolves and cougars. Don't bother them, they don't bother you.
Just stay the fuck away. In general, just stay the fuck away from them, especially when they're hungry. Don't be anywhere near them then.
Yeah, well,
Because soft, squishy, fleshy human is going to be a much easier catch than it would be to try and, say, take down a buffalo or a giraffe.
you don't have gazelle in South Africa?
We do. But lions, depending on how they hunt, if it's a full pack, they'll go for something big.
Yeah, lions don't. I thought lions hunted at prides, not packs.
Oh, pride pack, whatever the fuck. I'm sorry, dude, my brain's on shutdown. But anyway, basically, if they got the whole family there, they're going to try to take down a family-sized meal. Buffalo.
Yeah, I gotta
Giraffe.
wonder, have lions ever been known to attack farms?
No.
Really? Because I would imagine like a South African farm, if it's got like if it's got like a good sized amount of cows.
Because generally where the lions are, you don't normally build farmland.
Oh.
Lack of water. Large commercial farms you can't build in the Karoo areas and places or the places like the Kruger National Park, those areas. You do not have large sustainable volumes of water for large commercial farms like that.
Mm-hmm. I'm surprised.
During the dry season, it's not going to help you at all to try and build a farm there.
I get it. It's just like I'm surprised. Lions have never attacked like farm animals.
Well, because the farms with the farm animals are usually far enough away from the lions. Now, what you do get are game farms. Basically, they own the land, they put up boundaries and wire and everything, just to say this is my farm. But basically, all that a game farm more often than not entails is to make it more easily accessible for tourists to see specific animals from the big five or something like that. Or if you want to see a springbok or a kudu or an impala or something, it's much easier for game farms to provide people with this capability and to do it in a safe manner to obviously not disturb the animals than what you would say have some rando just marching in somewhere into the bush and then coming across a pride of lions and then gets fucked up.
Also surprised you got lions down in South Africa. I thought they mostly lived in the savannah.
No. Funny times. Misconceptions from other countries. See, I try not to make too many assumptions on the states because I know that the majority of what I see on TV is probably fake. That is why I rather try to ask and get my facts straight before I voice an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the unfortunate, sad fact of life. Everything you see about another country on TV is probably bullshit. For the most part.
No, it's just like like I said, I just thought like lions were mostly stayed in the savannah. I guess I shouldn't be surprised if they're all over Africa then. Well, unless you probably not northern Africa though. But that's
No,
mostly
not
desert.
regions.
Yeah. Although I'm gonna guess like stuff like colliding with pissing off a rhino or an elephant. Like that's just like what idiot would do that? Like you're just asking to get stomped at that point.
Well, to be perfectly honest, to really get an elephant angry, you're really gonna have to really fucking push it. They're not called gentle giants for no reason. The only time they will really get angry is if you are threatening their young.
Okay.
Or they perceive as a threat to their young. Rhinos, on the other hand, are like hippos. They're just naturally fucking belligerent.
Really?
Yes. Dude, you would be surprised how death by lion, when people, fuck around in the bush, is a lot. It's a lot smaller of an occurrence as you might think. Death by hippopotamus, on the other hand. Now that is something else. Because let's be perfectly fucking honest here. Yeah, you've got this gigantic motherfucking animal that weighs a couple of tons with a mouth that is literally big enough to snap you in half. And not for the sheer fact that they kill humans for sports or anything. It's just literally the fact that you are threatening them. They are highly aggressive. You're going to get your shit fucked up.
You would not think a hippopotamus would be that aggressive.
They are very aggressive.
Yeah, it's just, but when you see them like lounging around, they look so chill.
Yes, because the people are usually far enough the fuck away. Hippos have been known to topple boats in the river and kill the people that they've thrown out of the boats.
Oh shit!
Yes. Your little fucking canoe ain't gonna save your ass. Because once again, highly aggressive and territorial.
Like I said, at least out in where Matt and I live, like I said, the worst thing Matt has to worry about is possibly colliding with a. Fuck, Matt doesn't even have to worry about colliding with a moose, just colliding with a deer, and even that his car can survive. Well, Van can survive colliding with a deer too, probably. Not that I'd want to test it. A lot of, I don't think there's a lot of deer here, like wandering out where I live, at least out in Washington.
Let me just quickly see if I can find a picture of one so I can show you pretty much the size of a standard kudu bull. It's
What's
largest.
hippo?
No. Kudu is it's an antelope species.
Oh, they're big.
Yeah, they are big. But although not as big as, I get them confused the whole time.
Size of I'll give you the size of a moose. They get around to They can get around to 1,500 pounds as an adult. With the size. Size ranges over time. That doesn't. Okay, I'm just going to do this easy. Size of moose. Size of a. Shit, it's got to be an American. Well.
So the biggest buck we get here is the eland. Now these guys get big. They can range anything for females from 660 to 1,320 pounds.
Uh-huh.
And they can measure anything from 79 to 110 inches from the tip of their snout to the tip of their tail, and they can usually stand anything from 49 to 60 inches tall.
Mm-hmm.
The bulls weigh anything from 882 pounds to 2,077 pounds.
Yikes.
They can range anything from 94 to 136 inches in length and 59 to 72 inches in height.
Okay, here's a moose.
So this is pretty much how big these get.
Here's a moose for you. Adult at the shoulder, its height is like close to 7 feet, with its length being from its head to its length being around 10 feet, and its mass around 1,500 pounds in do that in metric.
Yeah.
Okay, so in metric, its height is around 2 meters. Length.
That's why I just went with Wikipedia, because it gives you the conversions there on the website as well.
Yeah.
And that's not always entirely accurate. But while we're on big animals, and especially ones that are particularly nasty and everything, just find one here. Ah, yes, our good friend, the hippopotamus.
How big?
3,310 pounds for males.
300. That thing weighs over a ton.
1.5 tons in metric. The very large males have clocked in at 7,050 pounds, which is 3.2 metric tons.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So is it any wonder that these fuckers are able to topple your little dinghy boat in the water?
No.
Exactly. They look all chill and shit, but they are actually fucking vicious killers.
Yeah, they are. Like I said, it kind of makes you just glad that the only thing I have to worry about out here are just wolves and cougars, which are easy enough to avoid.
Yeah. If you once it uploads. There we go. Latest picture in Slack. That is the picture of a hippo's skull. Look at those chompers.
I believe you. Yeah, I know those things. Oh my god, I thought hippos were vegetarian.
Yes, they're vegetarian, but they do kill. They are among the most dangerous animals in the world as they are highly aggressive and unpredictable.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it's not uncommon to go around South Africa waters and find like signs that say hippos in area, avoid.
We actually do have when you go onto the drives and everything, when they tell you if there's a fucking hippo, don't anger it. It's one of those little misconception things, as I said, from TV and everything. Everybody looks at them, oh, they're so cute. Yeah.
I'm sure the babies are cute, but it's just like those things. These things will kill. Yeah, they will kill you though. Kind of, I'm just kind of amazed. Even though we got like eagles out here, which they are a predator. They're really more of a threat to small dogs than anything.
Yeah. Now, here's a little even bigger little fucking shocker about a hippo for you.
Yeah.
So you've got a 7,000 pound, essentially a fucking tank, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're capable of running up to 19 miles per hour in short bursts.
That's as fast as a car.
90 miles per hour in short bursts. So you got essentially 3,000 kilogram fucking bastard barreling down on you. Yeah. That's going to end well.
So
the impact alone will fuck you up.
Did I just hear that's something that this thing, you can't outrun this thing in a car?
Well, depends on how fast you're driving the car. 19, not 90, 19.
I thought I heard 90 miles an hour for some reason.
Yeah, accent.
My bad. Okay, so yeah. Well, okay,
but still, 19 miles per hour.
Okay, you could outrun this thing in a car, but you definitely could not outrun this thing on foot.
Yeah. Unfortunately for you, no. You are fucked either way. Unless you've got enough time and distance between you and the hippo and a fairly powerful rifle. And when I'm saying fairly powerful, I'm talking anything 50 caliber wise, something that fires a big round.
50 cal rifle to kill it. Let me guess, a standard hunting
rifle. It's pretty much the only.
Like what, a standard hunting rifle?
That's just the thing. Standard hunting rifle ain't gonna do jack shit against that thing.
Like the bullets are I'm just imagining you fire like a standard hunting rifle, bullets just gonna bounce right off of it.
Yeah, you'll need a fairly powerful, fairly sized rifle to take down hippos. Guys have tried to hunt them with the standard 308, 30-06 hunting rifles. Didn't really do jack shit.
Like,
am I right? Get a penetrating shot right from the side. It penetrated the skin, but the skull is so thick.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, why go for the skull? Why not just try going for some other center of mass, like it's the rest of its body? Is it just because
that's where you start running into other problems?
Are they that fat that the bullet just?
That's where you start running into other problems. The bullet will pretty much stop going anywhere vital before it actually reaches them. That's why you need a high-powered weapon.
Because they're just that fat.
Usually an elephant gun will work.
I'm getting
that fat with that thick skin.
Of course, them being that fat also. Okay, I mean, like an elephant gun If I have to guess, those things are illegal in South Africa. Because I have
No,
to imagine
it's a
South
hunting
Africa has
rifle.
very strict anti-poaching laws.
We have strict anti-poaching laws. Yes, we do, but that still doesn't. You can still hunt, provided you have a permit. And they usually, when it comes down to hunting these animals, they usually allow you to only shoot ones that are fairly old and near the end of their life. So you're not really damaging the overall, ecology when you shoot these animals. Yeah, which means this animal's already done itself. So standard calibers for elephant guns that you would usually use these days is anything from a .577 all the way up to a 700 Nitro Express. .70 caliber rounds, essentially. These are the only rounds they'll give you the stopping power necessary to stop a hippo.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hippos, not
you'll-
big friendlies.
okay, Matt, you're gonna, if you can back me up on this, please do. You can take out a moose with a standard hunting rifle, can't you?
I don't think
Sorry,
they're
just
that
repeat
big.
that.
You can take out a moose with a standard hunting rifle, can't you?
Pretty much depends on where you're shooting.
Yeah, I don't
So
think
basically-
that.
What were you gonna say, Matt?
I don't think it's that. The skulls that bones that are that thick.
It's just amazing to me. I mean, like you can take this thing out with any rifle you can buy at Walmart, but collided with a pickup truck and that thing is totaled.
Once again, Brett, it comes down to where you're shooting the animal. Because the majority of a moose, if you're aiming for the head, you're going to have to aim for the vital spots, avoiding the antlers and everything, which pretty much adds a fairly thick layer of quote unquote natural armor plate to its skull. So the best place to shoot a moose would be around the neck area if you can hit the spine.
Yeah.
Because obviously, depending on where you shoot the animal, it's going to cause a lot of internal bleeding, which contaminates the meat and things like that you want to try and avoid.
Yeah.
So that is why a majority of hunters try to aim for the neck area to either try to sever the throat or the spinal column itself, which if they can hit the sever the spinal column, the animal is dead instantaneously with little to no damage to the meat and everything, and obviously the animal doesn't suffer either.
Yeah. I'm just
One of the things that guys here in South Africa used to do when hunting was still a big thing was if you wounded the animal, they made the guy that wounded the animal that couldn't deliver a kill shot with the first one. they gave him his rifle, some water and food and stuff, and they sent that guy then walks into the bush to try and find that animal that he shot to put it out of its misery.
damn.
One of the guys that my father hunted with a couple of years ago, I'm talking 90, 96, 97, thereabouts, years ago. He walked 3 days before he found the impala he shot. Basically, he used ammunition that it wasn't hunting ammunition, it was more like target shooting ammo. So it was the loads were fast and were brass tips, so they didn't mushroom to cause maximum damage. They just went so fast and straight through. He shot the buck through the lungs, so obviously not a kill shot. And he spent 3 days in the bush trying to find this impala. He eventually found it, still alive, struggling to breathe, just the one lung and then the bullet deflected from one of the rib bones and exited in another. So the animal was still alive, obviously suffering, and you had to put it out of its misery. But that is pretty much how the guys used to do it. You wound the animal, you go find it, and you put it out of its misery. You don't get to. And if they find out that this guy then if you shot another animal and not the one that you wounded, they actually reported people to the authorities and had their hunting licenses taken away. That's pretty much how people used to handle hunting in this country.
Yeah.
Mainly due to, preservation of the ecosystem, and also because once the animal was shot, I mean, what we used to do then was it would be, cured, drained, everything, and then pretty much everything that could be used from the animal for food and skin and trophies and shit, everything was used. So hunting wasn't just for sport, it was literally to get food and stuff as well, even though, it's the 90s, you don't really need to hunt for food, but
Yeah.
if you had the opportunity to do it, people still did it. Granted, some people never went back due to them having to march through the bush for 3 days to find the wounded animal, but hey, details.
I guess so. Yeah. I'm gonna go on a limb and say that there are like certain animals that are just like off the table for hunting when it comes down in South Africa. Like you can't hunt elephants.
Yeah, well, definitely not. Mainly for the fact that you can't use elephant meat for anything. It's not edible.
Not just that, it's also like I said, I'm just imagining it has something to do with because elephants have been poached before.
Yeah, the only usable thing for elephants is the ivory in their tusks, and then it's not really, and even then it's purely for ornamental reasons or some superstition that some
I always heard they got elephant. I always heard it was they got the ivory to make piano keys.
How they used to get the ivory for piano keys was obviously the same deal how they hunted for trophy animals, like I mentioned earlier. The animal that's pretty much at the end of its life. That's how they do it. So, used to do it, but clearly not anymore.
I'm just guessing like hunting elephants in South Africa, that's illegal, right?
Yeah, no, that's completely illegal. You're not allowed to do it.
Yeah. Let's see. 3 hours. We've gone well into Kumite time now.
Yeah, but I think this is also a good spot where we can finish off for today.
Something that's been quiet. Matt's been quiet for like the past hour or so.
Yeah, I made off like Tonka-san got something to eat.
Jerk.
But-
That is good.
But here's the thing. We've gone past the Kumite time.
Well, today we have.
Yep. But yeah, that was a feature of the old Kumite, was that Tonka was be so quiet that oftentimes he could just sneak away and get food.
It's like, and no one ever noticed.
That's why he could do 10-hour streams.
He just lets everyone else keep talking and then he just sneaks off.
Yep.
That's called being fucking smart.
Yeah.
You can't say he's an idiot.
I think Vamp yesterday snuck out to get a smoke in the middle of the show. Actually, no. Someday, this has to happen. This is destiny. This is destiny for the Kumite. We need get Weapon as Nerd Rage and Killing Joke in a shouting match. You know that has to happen.
Yep.
It'll be the funniest shit. It'll be like one of the greatest internet moments ever. Ever seen Weapon seen Rage get into a shouting match with the old man.
Yikes.
Okay. I guess I'll just do like Tonka and just call it good here, and we'll just. I want to go eat too.
Good idea.
Yeah, I think
See you guys later.
might be very hungry. Yeah, cheers, guys.
Bye.